All right. Good evening and happy Friday, everybody. Thank you to everyone who is tuned in right now. This is the official start of our May 7th episode of the Long Live Junto podcast. My name is Coach. I am your host tonight. With me is the rest of the gang. We've got Nightmare Fuel, we've got Beef, we have got Go Ichi with us. Everyone is in the house and we are ready to go. Gentlemen, happy May 7th. Cinco de Siete. Uh, we're going to go ahead and start off with our normal beginnings to our podcast, which is our reflection of the week. So I would like to kick it off with Beef as the first person tonight.
Welcome.
So I'll start off. I'll talk about. So I did softball. So we're in California for everybody at home, but we did our first week of softball back, and it was. I was telling Nightmare about. I had a ton of anxiety while I was playing. Where I grew up playing baseball, and I'm a very confident player. I'm very confident in my abilities on sports, and like I just don't think about it. But I was playing. Like when I was playing Monday. I had so much anxiety, like almost like I don't want the ball to be hit to me. And I've never felt that, and I don't know if it's a combination of me slowly getting more and more out of shape, or if also I feel like not being around as many people. Like it was a ton of people. Like to be honest, I haven't seen like besides being in Austin and that LA, like there was that, but then it was like we were going places, but where we were like moving around in Austin. So I think that was part of it. Whereas when we were out playing softball, I felt like there were so many people that I don't know if it was a social anxiety or I was just like, I don't know what it was. And it's the weirdest thing. So I had that happen. I went 0 for 3 and actually struck out, which is pretty hard to strike out in softball.
That does not sound like you.
Yeah,
That sounds like you owe everyone a case of beer.
Yeah, one of them was so bad that one of the girls on our team, like I've literally carried that team multiple seasons where I was like batting like 800 or 900 and like amazing. I was literally like a lawnmower out in or whatever the Range Rover out in outfield.
A vacuum.
A vacuum. That's the word I was going. But man, I was like over 3. I struck out and I was like, and I had this like such bad anxiety where there's a girl on our team who's made multiple errors. She's actually the better girl on our squad. But I heard her like she's like, dude, he's like really sucking right now. And I like looked at her and I was just like, I just like looked at her and I was like, really? I was like, and I walked back, but her and her whole family are there. And that's what kind of sucks is like I play with the family. It's like a Mexican family, but they're very honest too. So if like you're really struggling, man, they're really honest with you. Whereas like I could literally shred and go like 900 again. And then they would suck. Like some of them would suck. I never say anything to them. Like I don't get on them. So I was just like, damn. Like I was like, talk about hypocrisy. Like so I just felt like especially the girls, they get away with a lot of like speaking shit to us, and then I don't say anything back. But I think the big thing was, man, my anxiety was so bad, and but yeah, other than that, it was one of those just like typical weeks. We had yesterday I cooked with Nightmare. That was really fun.
That was awesome.
Ribs. Did some more ribs. Did some more spare ribs before we got here.
Delicious.
Amazing macaroni
awesome.
salad that Mrs. Nightmare. Oh wait, no. Mama Nightmare.
Mama Nightmare.
Mama name.
Had the ingredients.
Mama Fuel.
Mama Fuel, and that was really good macaroni salad. So
She's
it was
in
a
chat
good
right
week,
now,
and
too.
I'm looking forward. I'm taking my mom out to brunch tomorrow for Mother's Day, so I'm pretty excited with that. And then she's actually getting a new pup, so it's gonna be funny.
Oh,
yeah,
Cosmo the second.
Cosmo the second, yeah. His name's Milo.
Oh,
Milo, yeah.
They have one already, or they just have the name?
Yeah, they're gonna get him on the 19th of May. So I'm driving down to San Diego with her to go get the dog, and it's a like a Cuban. It's Cuban. It's Cuban. It's a Cuban
socialist.
Cubanese or
Cubanese.
Something.
Cuban.
It's bugging me because here, let me see.
Oh my
That
god.
sounds like a rare breed.
Yeah. Cubanese.
Like Cuban dog. Are you sure it's not just a Cuban that's dressed up like a dog to escape?
I put Cubanese.
Escape Cuba?
I did put Cubanese here. Cubanese dog, and a dog did pop up.
Cubanese retriever.
Oh, here it is. Havanese.
Havanese,
yes. This
Havanese.
Oh my God.
I do not have any of those.
Yeah, so I was close. Well, actually, you know
They're
what's
always
funny?
in movies.
Yeah, it's one of those like I wish we could put it on the.
Oh, one of those.
So it's a show
where-
dog.
It reminds me of like that. There's that on Cartoon Network. It's called Two Stupid Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he always had
Oh
his
God.
like, and that dog always had like crap over his eye, and that's kind of like this dog. But yeah, my mom went that route after. Yeah, after like she's like, oh, I really want to get a golden doodle like Walter, and then she ended up going this route. But she seems really excited, and for Mother's Day we got a lot of good stuff to, a lot of the gifts are around surfaced around the dog, and so
That's
we're gonna
cool.
yeah it's going so I'm actually gonna take a day off to go down with my mom to go get the dog. So she's really excited, really pumped.
Awesome.
Yeah, it looks like
Dogs.
Mama
That's awesome.
freelance bee.
How about you,
Hop in.
Goichi?
Yeah, she called it.
For me,
Habanese.
Habanese.
For me, this week's been really busy with work, but busy in a good way. Yeah, it's been a grind, but I'm so glad this week is over. And oh man, I just take it day by day, week by week. But it's been good. It was Star Wars May 4th, and then it was Cinco de Mayo. So those are cool. Those are cool holidays. I had some drinks with my wife on Cinco de Mayo, just hanging out,
Did you guys
chilling.
get Mexican food?
Some tequila.
Did we? I think we made dinner. We made like
Oh, we
pasta
did?
that night. Yeah.
Oh, the classic Mexican.
Tequila
Mexican
and
dish.
pasta.
Classic Mexican
Best.
noodle.
We didn't even drink tequila. I think I had Henny and she had wine. So
The spirit was
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
yeah,
Everything
I
but
mean you just
Mexican
get
food.
drunk and you
Yeah.
get full, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the goal, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what Cinco de Mayo's for.
But yeah, things.
Happy
things,
Cinco de Mayo.
Thank you. Yeah. But things have been good. I can't complain. I don't know, man. It's just like one of those things where I'm just trucking along and looking forward to Mother's Day. Going to visit my mom and family this weekend. I think other than that, it's just been a really chill week. I know there's been a lot of events going on with hockey lately and surfacing around the Capitals and Rangers, and to each his own on their opinion.
What
There-
happened? I don't know what happened. So
Pretty much, I feel like, Coach, you can explain this a little better than me, but I would be more than happy to put my opinion on it after yours. But do you mind
Okay.
just giving us a quick update of that event?
Yeah, so it was a game between the New York Rangers and the Washington Capitals. I can't remember or have all the information except for like the highlights and stuff that I saw, but essentially it was a play coming towards the net, and one of the Rangers players, I believe it was Pavel Busnevich, don't
Yeah.
murder me if I say it wrong, but he was trying to essentially he was trying to get the puck in. He was trying to stuff it in on the goalie. Ended up getting laid on top of by Tom Wilson, who's a player for the Capitals. Big physical guy, has had a lot of questionable hits and receives a lot of flack for his physical style in the league. And he like laid on top of him, which is totally fine. Whistle blew, punched Busnevich while he was basically like face down on the ice, and then everyone took exception to it. People start getting in everyone's faces. It's kind of like that episode of South Park where they have like the bro off, where it's like, you want to go, bro? You want to go? And everyone just kind of like piles on top, and then fists start flying in the air. And the star player for the Rangers got tussled up with Tom Wilson, which is not necessarily a match that I'd like to be in part of.
Mm-hmm.
And he just got his ass kicked. And Tom Wilson was just irate, kept going after him. Kept throwing punches and stuff when he was down on the ice, and just kind of like it just never stopped. It was never like okay, cool, like I won the fight. It just kept carrying over, and so all in all, everyone was like scrumming and fighting and stuff, but all in all, like Wilson got 3 penalties, I think, a major or 2 at least. He got a 10-minute misconduct, and I think a major and a minor. If
Yeah,
I'm not
like he went
mistaken.
right back out there after the 10-minute, and then he got like another 5-minute or something, and then another penalty after
Yeah,
that.
and then he ended up coming back and scoring an empty net goal to kind of like seal the fate for the game. But the Rangers, Artemi Panarin, he is now out for the rest of the season, which at the time was like 4 games. But he's their star player who's making, a boatload of money. And everyone was up in arms like, oh my God, like he's out of control and this and that. And it's like he needs to be suspended. He got fined $5,000, which is the maximum allowable amount. under the collective bargaining agreement, and he did not get a suspension. He's already been suspended. I think it was this year. He got a 7-game suspension at the beginning of the year for a questionable or for a bad hit or boarding call on somebody. And he's been suspended, I think, 3 times total in the NHL, and he's received multiple fines.
That's the guy
But
that punched
everyone was
someone while
like
they were
up in
down.
arms. Yeah, and then he just like kept going at another guy after. There's kind of like an unwritten rule in hockey, like you take him to the ice and like that's it. Like there's some very special instances I think where it just keeps going if you've got like 2 big dudes going after it, but generally speaking, you get down to the ice and it's done. And the referee stepped in and he didn't end it there. But the fact that guy got hurt, everyone's like boo-hooing about the development of player safety, like not suspending him. And so the Rangers got slapped on the wrist for publicly saying that someone was not fit for their own job.
Yeah. So yeah, I think for me, I just think there's so many people involved here where they were all in the wrong. First of all, Panarin has no business getting in fights. Like, I understand standing up for your teammate, but most of your team was already down there, and the star player and someone who's like, in a sense, like, you're considered fragile when you're a star player. Even Gretzky was considered, like the untouchable one. Like, you touch Gretzky, guarantee his goons are going to come after you and mess you up, right? So Panarin shouldn't have been in that confrontation in the first place. But the unwritten rule, like you were saying, Coach, is he hit the ice and he hit it hard, and then on top of that, his helmet came off, and then Wilson is still going after him as he's on the ground with no helmet. Like that, I mean, that's a no-no, man. At the end of the day, like, I don't care what like the player, the person, George Peros is in charge of player safety or whatever. Don't leave it up to him. You settle it on the ice. Like, that's the hockey unwritten rule too. It's like your goalie or one of your players gets messed up like that, you better finish it on the ice. And there was a segment with Sean Avery, who used to play from the New York Rangers, and he said the same thing. He said, handle it old school way. Take out their goalie. I don't agree with taking out their goalie, but I agree that you show them that you're not going to be pushed around, and nor are you going to injure your star player like that. Take out one of their guys, one of their best guys. Do the same thing back. Like, play that physical game. But I agree, man. Like, to me, when I see a player, like, there's a difference between a goon and like a bash brother versus like a scumbag player. And like what Wilson did was like a scumbag play, because when you go after players, especially when you're going after their heads and they're already on the ground and you're still trying to go after them, you're trying to end that guy's career. You're trying to end his family's like support system, and like, I know hockey players are way more classy than that. So that's where I think he's in the wrong there. It's like, when you're intentionally trying to put a player out of business and out of their career, you're a fucker, man. Like,
damn,
you shouldn't be doing that shit. So, because there is an honor code, Matt. There would be times where George Peros, who's like the commissioner of player safety now for NHL, he played for the Ducks, right? He was our brute guy, our goon. He would get
that
in
was
fights
his job.
he literally didn't even play. His job was to, okay, George, go out there and start a fight. Like, that was his job, right?
Yeah.
Gotta love hockey.
There was
prevent one.
Yeah, that too. But there was a theme with George Peros where, like, there would be instances where you could see him on the ice asking, like, he'd ask players first, like, would you have this fight with me? And, like, throw it down, right? And then after, you'll see guys, like, pat each other on the back and they'll be like, good fight, man. Because they're doing it for their teams, right? Like, it's like, it's part of the lifestyle and, like, the way NHL was brought up.
Culture.
It is. Like, people are against, like, the physicality and the hitting, but it's like, if you didn't have that, a lot of guys' careers would be ending a lot sooner. And they, it sounds ironic, but it's true.
It's like self-policing kind of deal.
Exactly. In a sense, yeah.
Exactly.
So, otherwise, it'd be chaotic. Everyone would be trying to kill each other in hockey.
Yeah.
So,
well, people like all the star players and stuff would just like, people would just take runs at the guys with a lot of talent if there was no repercussions for a lot of that stuff. So it's like that whole self-policing act is, it's definitely like, it's definitely gotten less because, there's definitely like, everyone used to have at least one, if not two, like dedicated dudes who were not as talented or expected to score and produce, but just like, you're going out there to go hit somebody hard and be physical. And like, if something happened to a team, like, we're rolling you out on this line to go
I
send
mean,
a message to the guy who delivered that hit.
exactly, man. Even
Yeah.
when I played recreational, like inline hockey, roller hockey, as a kid growing up,
Mhm.
it's the same thing. We had big dudes on our team, and like they couldn't skate for anything, right? But we'd put them down deep in the net. We have them screen the goalie, push people around. Like the biggest dude on your team, he's not going to get moved around. So you put him right in front of the net, especially if he doesn't have skill or it can skate. So it's the same
Yeah.
thing. I mean, that's how you're raised in hockey. So
I feel like that's a lost art in
Mhm.
sports of like self-policing.
Mhm.
I think hockey's kept it alive for the most part, but like in football,
Baseball's trying to get rid of it.
yeah. I was gonna get to that. Like
Oh,
football,
sorry.
you can't hit people. You can't hit
every
people
sport's
coming
getting
over
soft, including hockey.
coming over the middle. You
Yeah.
can't you can in baseball, like coach was saying, you can't like brush a hitter back with a high and inside pitch. Or
wow.
everyone gets butt hurt. You can't even hit someone like everyone just gets crazy butt hurt and like, oh, I'm just you can't you're not supposed to do that. And it's like it's just
Mhm.
it's a lost art in sports, protecting your teammates and
I miss watching
and
it in
brushing people
basketball,
down.
man. I
Bas-
miss the physicality of
Basketball, yeah.
It was so
Everything-
entertaining to watch.
Everything
physicality
is
of
a foul. Everything's a foul
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
basketball. If you just if your fingers touch on a shot, foul. It's crazy.
You think like
Yeah.
that? You think anything that plays into it is the average salary that all of them are making? Because if you look at from like the 80s to what it is now in terms of overall salary, like the increase of every sport is increased significantly with salary.
Yeah.
So you're protecting now almost this like business, like
yeah, your
you know,
cash cow.
yeah, it's like
Yeah. That
like
makes sense, too.
Patrick Mahomes was going to make like
half
he'll
a
probably-
billion dollars.
he'll probably be a billionaire by the time he's done. Like think about that.
Oh,
you know,
easily.
You know what I'm saying? Like isn't that crazy? Like to
Uh-huh.
talk about like
Yeah.
it's just wild. So you know what's weird to me is the only thing that's like really hypocritical on it is like with all these like I'll say the four major sports are like NHL, NMLB, NBA, and NFL. What I find odd is like I kind of mentioned to you guys this earlier is like you have what's the mixed martial art
MMA, yeah.
MMA, UFC.
Yeah.
So that's all okay by that, but like those guys are probably going to deal with this like concussions and a lot of brain trauma and all these things.
Yeah.
So what I find ironic is like, well, totally, that seems to just be increasing, like the level of that just keeps, the costs the people are getting paid higher and higher every year, and I find that, but then like there's not, you know what I'm saying, like there aren't a lot of rules when it comes to that. It's just like maybe people there are legal moves, but for the most part you're beating a dude's skull in, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like with this Tom Wilson guy, it's just like yeah, he did kind of a move that you said unwritten rule, and that in baseball too. It's like there was Nick, however you say his Castellanos. Yeah, he like did a stupid little thing that you don't do because it's an unwritten rule, but then he gets suspended a couple games, and I just find it like I kind of find that weird to me. Like I'm not saying I'm for one side or the other, but I find it weird that you have UFC where it's like literally these guys could like break a dude's neck in half, in one kick, and that could happen, and then everybody's going to be like, is it just because a different group of people watch that, and the user base of hockey's gotten more sophisticated, and same with MLB, and I don't know, like
If I had to put my finger on it, I'd say it's with UFC. I think it's baked into the sport. Fighting is baked into the sport.
Well, so is hockey though, right?
It's like
Well, I was gonna say that, and hockey it's baked into the sport having actual fights, but in UFC and in hockey, once the guy's down, he's down, he's out.
in
they
UFC,
stop the
you
fight.
finish him until the ref tells you.
Yeah, you go until the ref tells you. Hockey, he's down. It's kind of I guess it's generally thing
It's like golf. There's an
you're
etiquette
down.
to it.
Yeah, the etiquette. Like
For
once
sure.
he's down, like it's over. But like with like baseball and the one thing is
I don't
football
see
is-
that. I mean, in baseball fights, I've never
It's
there have been
football.
fights where like they'll go at it, like they'll even go down on the ground. It's like
yeah. But
even
there's
hockey
no
too. I guess there might be unwritten rules, but like when you're starting to talk about fighting and stuff, I think it's just hockey as a whole. Before this week or before this last couple of weeks, I didn't know who Tom Wilson was, and Tom Wilson got so for everybody at home. Nightmare and I don't know anything about hockey, and Goichi and Coach know everything about hockey, or there are hockey fans here. So like for me, like it was big enough for me to even text the team and say, hey, what happened with this guy? Like why was this such a, why was this all over the media? And I think that's the big thing is like why has that happened?
I know so little about hockey. When you said Tom Wilson, I thought about the Biff from Back to the
Yeah.
Future.
That joke, the recycled joke there.
Yeah, well,
it was definitely
the viewers don't know.
Yeah.
So,
it was definitely overhyped.
You
I think.
use it on us, and then you're like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna drop it here.
yeah, of course.
I think it was definitely overhyped.
It didn't work
for
with you
sure.
guys.
Like,
It's not going to work here.
they were definitely they made it a bigger deal than what it was. It was just the fact that, if it just stayed internally with mostly just hockey fans versus going out to the world and social media and stuff. Like the thing is, like I could care less about the suspension technically. Like, you settle it on the ice, but you definitely you're not trying to take a guy's career out, especially a young kid like Panarin, man. I mean, he's up and coming and he's doing so well. And then the other part was he was trying to break up the fight, and then when he fell on the ice, in the moment, the normal play, you couldn't tell if he actually hit his head on the ice as well. So you're going to hit a guy when his helmet's off, and he could have gotten concussion as soon as he hit the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to still go after him? That's like beating a dead horse to a sense, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
have some sense of pride, man, of the sport you play and represent. You know, I understand you can be a goon. You could be the most evil person. I mean, there's been sick hits. It ended Paul Kariya's career with Stevens from New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, I
when he
remember that
took
play.
that hit,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
it was...
He scored the
Man.
goal though.
That's all that matters.
But, dude,
Yeah.
I mean,
Scored that goal.
it was a clean hit, you
Yeah.
know? And it's the guy's a brute, and you got to respect the hits sometimes, you know? But it's unfortunate and stuff like that happens. But, like I said, he knew the entire situation that was happening there with Panarin, and he still kept going for it. I don't care if you're enraged or whatever. Have some respect, man, for the sport and for the future and livelihood of the sport. This is an upcoming guy that's going to keep increasing his skill set and keep increasing the fan base and feeding, the sport you love most to keep going. You got to think about the big picture here versus yourself. And I think he made a selfish decision, you know? But I do also think that people shouldn't get upset about how George Peros handled it, because that's the NHL, man. They never go in our favor. They never, call it right most of the time. It's a bit biased, or not. It's like a slap on the wrist when it shouldn't be. It should be more than that. But I agree with Sean Avery. You just settle it on the ice, man. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of if no one's going to take care of the business for you, it's a family, man. On a hockey team, you take care of each other. Whenever someone attacked my goalie or my players, I didn't care. I went for it. I protected my team because. You're not going to mess with my team. Nor am I going to show you that we're pushovers and you could just walk all over us.
So did you think what happened, that whole fight, do you think that was justified?
I think the commotion that
end,
happened is normal, right? But I think just singling out Tom Wilson, the way he acted and continued to go after people that were on it,
Well, did you see, because didn't they play again? They played it again
yeah,
after.
and there was 10 penalties,
yeah,
so
that's
quick.
what, yeah,
That's
so
what I
that's
was
what
gonna
you're
ask.
talking
Wasn't
about.
there
Yeah,
a
that's what you're talking
big
about, right?
fight?
Though,
Oh no, I'm talking about that one
game.
instance,
Yeah,
the first instance.
But you're saying because you were saying fix it on the ice or make it.
Oh yeah, so they did come back after.
Which they did.
Yeah.
But I would
then
have
they
done
got
it
fined
that game.
$250,000.
Yeah.
Which is half their.
And then the coach got fired, the owner got fired. It was crazy, man.
All right, last
But yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
last
You fight
tangent.
them.
Last tangent. If everyone both teams fight and they all get sent to the penalty box, does
Yeah.
it's the goalie versus goalie.
yeah, it's just they just sit there.
The
just
goalies
no,
are fine.
even the goalies get put. Is there just an empty ice rink?
If
where-
it ever
as-
came down to some, well, what do you think,
God,
Spence?
Well, that's the
I mean,
rule,
coach.
is that you can't leave the bench.
Oh.
So if when there's a fight on the ice, if you see somebody
True.
leave the bench, or if there's a fight up on the boards next to the bench, you'll always see the guys basically sit back and don't do anything, because if you're not on the ice and you participate in that and grab a guy, hit a guy, or if you come off the bench to go for it, you're for sure getting suspended long time.
Yeah, it's a chess game. Because
okay.
then you're hurting your team.
That is an unwritten rule. Well, that's actually probably an unwritten, but there's probably a written rule for it too. Is if you're not on the ice when it happens,
Yeah.
you are not part of that fight.
Because not only will your fans be mad, your teammates will be mad, and your coach.
Definitely getting suspended. I'm just saying if both teams come off the bench and everyone's in the penalty box, is it just an empty rink?
I think there's
and then the quarters just
what they would do.
It would just be it would probably just be the maximum, which is pretty close to what they got right now. When they had that thing, when they put all five, they just put a whole line of everybody, I think, in the box. I think they each had four. They had five.
I think it was
four,
six.
I think, in each box.
It was six.
Oh, it was six?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just put everybody in there, and
They
then you
couldn't
just
even
roll
sit.
out the
They had to
next
stand.
line.
Oh man.
Yeah,
But
so it's you just fit as many in there, you put a whole new line, and then like you just have a line play and basically just kind of go.
I agree.
But with the whole rule of people not participating, it makes it so that you basically just roll 2 lines for that whole time
Yeah. So
until all those dudes come out.
yeah.
Good to know.
So it'd probably
Which
be
makes
like
it
3 on
interesting.
3, and they wouldn't penalize the entire team because it wouldn't make any sense, right? There'd be no players to play. So they would probably have to select to maximize the penalty box, put in 6, pick your 6 guys to put in there, and then like
Mhm.
they'll be everyone else has to sit on the bench except 3 players, and they're going to play out however long that penalty is going on for, like 5
Now, does
minutes,
that include
10 minutes, whatever.
does that include goalie? 3 on 3 including
No.
goalie?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Usually,
no, not including goalie. 3 on 3,
Sorry.
and then goalie
Okay.
on
Yeah.
each end.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And even half the times when the goalie gets a penalty, somebody else goes and serves
Exactly.
it for the goalie.
Yeah, the goalie's not going to sit in the penalty box. That never happens.
That'd be
But then
hilarious.
you take that like responsibility as a goalie. It's like, did I really have to take that penalty? Because most of the time goalies shouldn't take penalties. You can get away with murder as a goalie. Honestly, it like pretty much the way like I played goalie as well, like in rec hockey. And when I played goalie, pretty much that red circle in front of you, that's your home. And anyone comes in that home, you can F them up. You could slash them with your stick. You can push them out of your way. You can do whatever because they're in your space. They're not allowed to be in there, technically.
Got it.
So,
My view.
Good
my,
week.
Yeah, because my only view that I wanted to say, because what I find interesting is it's so crazy because I'll talk to a lot of like old school hockey fans, and then I feel like they are like, oh, like you have it, make hockey violent again. But then these moments happen, and it's like I'm not saying like I'm not saying I agree with what what Tom Wilson did. Never, I don't really have a preference whatsoever, but like what I'm saying, it's like one of those things where it's like that kind of makes this fun, these moments fun again.
yeah.
It's a part of the
But see,
entertainment.
hockey was always able to maintain that like violence, physicality without having like it
Cheap
did,
shots.
Yeah, like it's just like, dude, when it's like taking off a knight's armor and then stabbing them with the sword versus like doing the honorable thing and having a face-to-face battle with your armored gear. It's like that kind of thing. It's like if you're going to go to a duel and like you're signing up for this, like fight fair, man. Like don't be a scumbag or a cheap shot. Like the biggest thing, man, is just like you're ending someone's career. That's the thing. Like maybe that could happen by accident, right? With getting concussions over and over. That happens in hockey. But when you're actually like that's your intention is to hurt them and like just end their career. I think that's wrong. But there is a physicality of the game where it's just business, honestly. So
Yeah.
Good talk.
So Nightmare, how about your week?
My week was there was no fights.
Good.
Yeah, it was good.
No $5,000 fine.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was pretty. It's a pretty smooth week. Work's slowing down again, so working on little projects. Cooking Junto yesterday was really good.
hmm
It was a fun one.
Yeah, everything came out better than expected. Especially
Yeah.
my macaroni salad. I've had the ribs before, so I knew those were gonna come out good. Let's see. Did I do any? No. I had a couple birthdays in the family this week. Sent out text messages and calls and cousins and uncles and aunts.
no drive-by
So-
birthdays?
No drive. No, we're actually celebrating in person. We're actually doing
Nice.
it in person Saturday.
That's
We're doing
nice.
our first really big family gathering since
Cool.
COVID lockdowns. So I'm actually really excited for that. We actually have in our family we have a lot of people with May birthdays, so we actually celebrate everyone's May birthday.
Oh, that's right.
On
Yeah.
Mother's Day weekend.
I don't know if it's always on Mother's Day weekend, but we usually do it on some weekend where it's like a big family get together. And we celebrate everyone's birthday, and we have a hilariously large cake that has everyone's birthday on it, or name on it, and we sing a hilariously long birthday song, and
That's
Michael
cool.
and Mary Kay, and we just list everybody, and that's really fun, and I'm really excited to see my family like all together again.
Nice.
For the most part, there's some people or some family members that are overseas and across the country, but for the most part, everyone that's here, I'm excited to see them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
How about you, Coach?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Your turn.
My turn. Well, another week, another successful week. It is officially finals week here at the school, so
Woo!
even more relaxed than it was last week when I reported in, just because we had more open hours. I was solo by myself with my boss at a conference, so I was running the show this week. Not really much to kind of do except for make sure everyone's taken care of, the weight room doesn't burn down, and things are put back where they need to be, and everything gets cleaned up and whatnot. But for myself, it's been a good week. I got back on the train for being consistent with some of my training. Kind of been working on some stuff. Um,
Oh, we get
and
in at
continue
Gym
to kind of like
Junto this week?
we are actually getting
Oh,
a
we
Gym
are. Okay.
Junto tomorrow morning.
Damn.
So tomorrow morning we're gonna have a Gym Junto stream. Uh, it'll be a fun little Saturday morning
Get
workout
your
for
flushable
ourselves.
wipes ready.
Yeah. But you flatter me too much.
Oh, baby. Sweat,
But
big man, sweat.
yeah, if we could just pause my camera here while I sit here blushing, we'll keep the audio rolling here. But yeah, so we'll have Gym Junto tomorrow. It's been a good week of training. My body definitely feels it as I've gotten back to having like my first 5 session a week training schedule going for a while. But other than that, it's just kind of making sure that like summer stuff is prepared for my athletes. I've been having some meetings with athletes on things that they need to work on and stuff that they want to do over summer. The do's and don'ts of going home uh, when you're away from school. Like a lot of kids, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going home. And I'm like, oh cool, you want to work? And it's like, well, I got like 3 vacations planned, and I'm like, okay, well, that's probably not going to work out
Jesus.
too
The
well.
stimulus bills, you know? Oh,
Yeah.
stimulus.
Yeah, right.
Those Biden bucks.
Or they're like, well, I'm just gonna go live at the lake house for a month
Vitamin
and drink and day drink every day. I was like, well, then I guess we're not gonna be better when we come back. So we'll see how that goes in the fall. But what's that number?
Coach, so you work with the athletes, but do you also work with the other wannabe strength coaches that are doing master's programs and kinesiology majors? Do you work with them as well, or are you just strictly...
Not here. I do not because at the school I'm at, we actually don't have exercise science or kinesiology program here.
So you're just big man on campus, literally.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm the assistant, so I got my boss that's the bigger man. But
Yeah.
we have a couple of athletes that are interested in it, but again, there's no like official program, so it's like they're not going through like an actual full kinesiology like course load for their undergraduate degree. So it makes it a little bit different, but
Are you coming home
all
soon?
in all, it's been I am. So beginning of June, as of right now, beginning of June, I will be road tripping back to California for 2 months, and then we'll have some Long Live Junto episodes where all four of us will be in that room right there,
Hey,
kind of like our first episode.
would it ever be possible for the school to make you a hybrid? Like how people can do like teachers can be like a Spanish teacher and then also like be a sports athletic teacher as well? Like, could there be a hybrid where you taught about health and then did your other coaching stuff as well? Or?
They Yes, but I don't think that they would. Just because just because we're at a small school, the schedule is like so hectic. Like when you're at a bigger school, working around athlete schedules is so much easier because like for every class that they need to take, there's let's just say 10 offerings of that class.
Gotcha.
And it's like here at a small school, there's like one offering for that class. So kids from the same team have to come in at like some of them we have like 4 or 5 different hours that they can come in and get that training in.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's like it's just all over the map for training. So I really don't want, like, honestly, there's days where it's like I just don't even have time to do. I wouldn't even really have time to do anything outside of coaching my athletes because the schedule is just so all over the map. But
Gotcha. Okay.
So could you be a hybrid, as in like you become part monkey or become part shark? That would be.
if I could, I think I might take the monkey.
Animorph.
Yeah.
If I could, the monkey thing isn't bad because I'd probably be better at pull-ups and chin-ups. So that would be kind of a nice improvement for me right now. But I don't foresee them putting that as an offer as part of my compensation anytime soon.
Damn. Well,
Yeah.
It's 2021. Let's get it going.
I,
We gotta get
Well,
him a
boys.
mic here.
Huh?
we got to what?
It said so June you're gonna be here, so we gotta get you a mic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll probably be like only like $20.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because
And a headset.
Check.
And a
Yeah,
headset.
yeah.
Check.
Yeah,
1,
it's gonna
2.
be nice.
Yeah, we don't have to find convoluted ways to get you into the OBS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
I mean,
that'd
I
be
got two mics right here. Check 1, check 2.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
a
So,
a TikTok right there. Do that again. Check 1, check 2.
check
Do it
1, mic
faster.
test 1, 2.
Faster.
No. You guys suck.
We're not getting you vocally. You gotta open your tonsils
Yeah.
a little more. You know.
Like, yeah, just. Do I have to stick my tongue out too?
I mean,
That would add a little
if
character.
If it helps, I think it helps.
Put some whipped cream on there and lick that off. Or you guys would like that, wouldn't you? That'd be,
Mic check.
yeah. That was a little Joe Dirt flashback right there for
Oh
you.
yeah, for sure.
Shout out to David Spade if he wants to be on the podcast. We can
He
talk
probably
Joe Dirt
would
all
do
day
it.
long.
He 100% would do it. I feel
Honestly,
like
hey, I saw him at the
God.
Brea Improv, and I thought he was absolutely hilarious.
he's funny.
My cousin and I love him, and
yeah, I don't agree.
I'd 100%.
I just want Jimmy Lee here. So
You what?
Jim,
Jimmy Lee.
I don't know who that is.
Bobby
I'll
Lee?
take
Or
Bobby
Bobby Lee,
Lee.
sorry.
Lee. I knew who he meant. I knew he meant
Bobby
Bobby
Lee.
Lee.
I was like, I wonder when he's gonna realize
Yeah.
this. But I'm like, I'll take
That's-
Bobby Lee too.
That's
while
so
we're at it.
funny you
pretty
said Bobby
confident
Lee
in
is because like I just was watching a Joe Rogan the other day where he was talking about how Bobby Lee is one of the best stand-up comics that like
Oh really?
that never like does he won't do a special. He just
Yeah.
likes to go out and do the road.
He's
and,
made
like,
his life on being in the underground.
yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
It's
Like
impressive.
he's literally like, but like you'll hear him. He always gets refiltered,
Mhm.
where you'll hear about him like every so often.
Yeah.
And I feel like, cause some people will like sputter out, like they'll hit it big and then sputter out. But like Bobby Lee's like,
He just needs
He's
to
a
do one
timeless.
Netflix special, dude.
You sound exactly like Joe Rogan. He's like just do one. Like he said Joe Rogan said Bobby Lee said he was gonna do one and he's working on material. So I'm
okay.
fingers
That'd
we
be
crossed.
finally
cool.
got him through.
It's just
I
like
think-
him coming out naked, like that's it.
Yeah. I mean,
he just like takes
if it
off his
works,
clothes
it works.
real slow.
Dude, I'm down for that.
Oh man.
Well, boys, let's say we jump right into a Junto question for the week.
I like that.
This is a paragraph you have to read.
That's okay. Well, good thing I passed the California standardized testing all the way through middle school and elementary school.
Oh man.
I've been prepared for this now.
It sounds like you're stalling.
Yeah.
No, well, I was getting the question to try. I was getting the question to try and pull up, so that I could read the whole thing. But here we go. So, Junto question of the week is, as says, have you met with anything in the author you last read, remarkable or suitable to be communicated to the Junto, particularly in history, morality, poetry, physics, travels, mechanic arts, or other parts of knowledge. I don't think any of us read anything on mortality unless we're in the movie The Mummy. But would you like me to read that again for you?
I have it pulled up on my Trello.
Okay.
But if you want to read it for
Or yeah, I would translate it for everybody at home, unless you
Okay.
feel like you can't.
No, okay. So I would say, anybody have anything, or what do you have from the last author that you read from that you thought would be, I would say, of some like substantial, either meaning to you or something that maybe stuck with you that you didn't have beforehand, something that you got that was really big or significant
I'll
out of
just go first.
the last thing you read.
I'll just go
Let's
first.
go,
'Cause mine's
Goichi. Let's hear
very short and sweet.
Okay.
Most people know this about me, anyways. I'm just going to stick with the quote because I'm not a very active reader. I'm ashamed
Mhm.
of that. I'm working on that. It's work in progress.
Yeah.
But
Same here.
for me, it's the Yoda quote. It's do or do not. There is no try.
That's
I
like,
love that
that's
quote.
Beef's
I
like
love
favorite.
that
It's
quote
so
Yeah.
good.
because it's so true. It's like it doesn't matter, do or do not. Like you're not giving it any effort, right? And it challenges you to face your fears. Like even if you know there's going to be failure ahead, it's like it doesn't matter. The fact that you're trying is what counts. It doesn't matter fail or succeed. It's just the fact that you're not trying. That's the ultimate definition to me of failure.
Interesting.
That's pretty good. I mean, honestly, I do like that quote. I love using that quote for like messing with people or just making jokes. Um, but as much as I think that quote gets some flack, I definitely think that it's applicable and it's relevant to like people, especially now. Think about like the thrill of this whole thing, like people going out and venturing out into like new things,
Hmm.
making their own business or trying new things. Like I think you can definitely relate that to people. So
Yeah, I think when you the mentality there too is that trying even saying the term like the word I tried is almost like an excuse in life. So that's a kind of, I mean, not to take it, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, well, at least I tried. Well, it's like you don't get points for trying. It's like,
You did or
so
you didn't.
yeah, it's like you either did it or you didn't. And the reality is that if even if you swung and struck out, that's much better than and you struck out, you walk out with your head held high, and it's like I took a hack, and it's like you just didn't do it, and that's all. And that's the knowing that truth is better than saying the excuse I tried, and that's kind of how I see it. It's like because a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I tried, and then or in my head I'll be like, oh, at least I'm trying, but it's like that doesn't really matter. You see it through or you don't see it through. So finish it or
mhm.
don't finish it.
I do have one more real quick since the Yoda one was kind of corny. So I actually I have two.
It's
I have
another
two.
Yoda one.
He's furiously
Anakin
googling.
Skywalker.
So, no, so I saved
Yeah.
these. I
Is it
saved
about
these.
sand?
Yeah.
Is it rough and irritating? And it gets everywhere.
So I saw this epic movie called Holes. No. Okay, so
Please
it's
be from Jurassic Park.
I saved this, right, like because it means a lot to me. At least it like resonates with me, and it's something that I can appreciate as far as like a saying. It doesn't say who like it came from, but I read it off of Instagram, and it's this Instagram that I follow channel that I follow is called Wolf of Freedom. And the first one was make sure the girl sitting passenger side in your car is the same girl who'd be sitting with you at the bus stop if life turned around differently. And I think, man, that is like that hits deep, especially with like my wife and how we've built our relationship over like the past 13 years. It's like your best friend, your partner in crime, and it's like do or die. You stick it out till the end together. So that I love that quote. The other one was the Japanese say you have three faces, and I find this so funny because when I met Beef. I kind of threw him a curveball because I'm a totally different person outside of work. It's definitely like one of those things of fake it till you make it. So the Japanese say you have three faces. The first face you show to the world. The second face you show to your close friends and your family. The third face
Mhm.
you never show to anyone. It is the truest reflection of who you are. So
I like that one.
yeah,
Interesting.
because I think even in times of just solitude and just being by yourself, I think there are moments of yourself that you just show to yourself, like looking in the mirror or just being alone. That like everyone has their own secrets, no matter like even if like you have friends and family, like you do have like your own things that you keep personal to you, or like maybe you have like certain like actions or a personality that you just vibe with, like without being around anyone. So yeah, I think that definitely hits me deep because I am definitely about like not showing all my cards to everyone. Like I'm a different version of myself depending on how much I respect you and like you as a person. So
Definitely.
Mhm.
I have a couple good ones because I actually watched Moneyball
Oh,
to add to this.
God, yes.
So I'd read Moneyball a while ago, but it's and I know I actually got Goichi to watch this one. So it actually like will work because everybody's Coach, you've seen it, right? Just make sure.
Uh, yeah, that's where Chris Pratt does the best Scott Hatterberg impression.
Okay, so you've seen it. There we go. Do you remember it very well or?
Um, yeah, honestly, when you said Moneyball, the first quote that came to mind probably wasn't anything significant. Um, but it was, but yeah, I remember parts of it.
So that Moneyball is like to me when I first watched it. When I read it, and I think it's a great book. It's all about
Hmm.
stats, and like I think as I've gotten older, only thing that really matters, especially with whether it's politics, religion, or whatever the topic is, nothing matters more than statistics on truth or stats or numbers. Numbers tell the truth all the time. I will like you can have a belief to yourself, like to the individual. You can have your own belief in which your beliefs, what you think, the way you see life, that's subjective. But in terms of when it comes out to consensus for everybody, I think we need to only be fair and to avoid all bias is you have to go based off of numbers. Numbers tell the whole story. Like, I don't know if everyone agrees
Numbers
with that.
don't lie, kind of thing.
Numbers don't lie. Like, they don't, like, people can, you know, there will always be an oppressed group, but if we actually truly always look at the numbers, we can make assessments based on those numbers and always tell the truth. If we can always look at numbers as the only form because it's data, that's the only thing that matters. So I'm going to go into this because these are things that were not said in the movie, but I think that they're really important. So
quick question: Did the GM of the A's write Moneyball, or was it?
No, Billy Beane did not write it.
Okay.
Who
wrote it? Do you have the author?
Yeah, it's Michael Lewis.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So, but he wrote it with Billy Beane.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
for everybody at home, Billy Beane was the general manager of the Oakland A's. Anyone that knows anything about baseball is Oakland A's are like the bottom tier of really having any type of capital space for money. So they're the exact opposite of the Yankees, and that's how the movie starts, is it showing you the exact opposite. So it's really just it's playing the game. But these are why the book to me is something that the movie has a lot of good quotes, but for the book, so this is Michael Lewis's. People in both field, and the way I take this is not only baseball, but I take this for life. So just keep this in a moment. People in both fields operate with beliefs and biases. Period. To the extent you can eliminate both and replace them with data, you gain a clear advantage. So it goes into what I just said. Like, if there's a lot of times where you have your gut, but at the end of the day, if you keep going off of your gut, you're just getting lucky. Whereas if you start using statistics in anything and everything you do, statistics is general, but I mean numbers. Like, quantify what you're doing. Like, you could be successful, but then quantify what you're doing. But if you look forward, you know, some people got it. Like, some people could read that and be like, you're full of crap, because they've been successful off of just hard work alone, or they're intuitively intelligent. You know, they got the street smarts. But I love that, because I look at that as, like, so many different industries have belief and biases, and it doesn't matter what industry. It could be industry, could be religion, could be anything. And it's like, well, religion's not a good example, but you look at, like, data will always help you. I think what that actually means to me when I read that is actually the data will tell you what really the truth is.
Yeah,
because
in the truth.
Yeah, because in this world, I feel like a lot of times we're told, like, especially on the news these days, we're told something, and it's like, is that really how it is? And then, you know, you could be told it by a group of people, and then another group could tell you the exact opposite. So how are you supposed to see the truth? And the truth is data. I think data is the answer.
As long as the data isn't corrupt.
It's
or
subjective.
That goes back into that. Yeah, and that's the bigger
I
thing.
agree with you.
Yeah, that's so for me. That's the first one. That was by Michael Lewis. So Michael Lewis is just for everybody. He was just a big baseball fan, but he met with Billy Beane and wrote Moneyball. And Moneyball is actually the art of winning an unfair game. So it's Moneyball, the art of winning an unfair game. So, and that's
so funny.
It's talking about baseball, but you can equate it to any sport or anything in life, right?
Yeah.
So here's the second one. This is by Bill James. So Bill James, for everybody at home, I know a lot of guys here who watched it, but Bill James developed statistics to look at baseball a lot different, and it's called sabermetrics, and it looks at it a very complete different way than it gives it statistical values that are not your basic, like, average home run on base percentage. Not that it takes that and quantifies it to numbers that give players value. That now if sabermetrics or it gives it players value, what happened was Billy Beane introduced that to baseball, and before that it was very like, scout looks at the player, gives you kind of like most sports, gives you kind of a feel of, like, hey, this scout looks like this guy, looks like this baseball player from the 90s, we're going to go off that. Sabermetrics took a statistical, all these stats, combined them, and gave you numbers so that GMs could look at it and be like, this player is actually worth a lot more than what he might have physical. He may not physically be the same as, like, a Mike Trout, but he's got these numbers that, like, when you plug in all the data, he actually is a lot more valuable. So pretty much why it's called Moneyball is that some players are worth a lot more value from a statistical standpoint, from sabermetrics, than from a monetary standpoint. So they may not be getting paid 10 million a year or 20 million or 30 million or however it is, but they might have been getting like 100,000, like 200 or 300,000 a year, and their value was just as good as somebody that was getting paid 10 million. It's like to simple it down. So Bill James, like I just think about that. Like think about that guy. Like Bill James wrote all that, and the guy worked in a meat plant or a meat packing plant.
Yeah.
Like the guy, like to think. So just to tell you, I use him. He's one of my favorite examples of like it doesn't. He wasn't in the industry, and he just loved baseball.
Just a baseball fan.
So it tells you that you can do anything, no matter what you're. If you want to go and trade stocks and be successful at it, you can go do it. If you want to go out and be owner, you want to be like a Warren Buffett with all this real estate, then you can go do it. You want to own a pipeline one day, you can do it. Looks like we're losing.
Oh,
coach is getting rainy over there.
You're in the Matrix.
I might get picked up by a tornado. Who knows?
Yeah.
I wonder if his Wi-Fi.
I don't know. He's clear on this end. Oh, he's back.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
He's back. Okay. So Bill James. If you challenge conventional wisdom, you will find ways to do things much better than they are currently done. And I think like that's I don't know, like that's to me is like you could always look at once you say that's good enough, that typically to me is like that's where it starts to be the end of that. Or it starts to like be on its decline. And like so pretty much as you can always look at anything and make it better. That's with yourself, your job, your business, your relationship with your other half, your relationship with your family. The moment you say that's good enough or I don't need to work on it or because working I think is like looking at yourself but then also like the situation. But I just think about that. It's like how do you challenge yourself? Like how can I make this better? Because as a person sometimes we're content with what we have and so I just think like when I look at that, that's one of those things where conventional wisdom as a big thing because a lot of people will be like, you know, we work in IT, Goichi and I, and it's like people do things for like 20 years, and it's like, and then it's like you're like, well, my way is more efficient in my mind, and it'll save more efficient, it'll save you time, and you're wasting time, and it's like, but you'll have these people like old dog can't learn new tricks kind of thing, and it's like. That it just goes to show you that no matter where you are in life, no matter what your age is always listen to anybody that has an idea and embrace it and embrace it and see how it can be successful to you. Not
fresh new perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like and so to me like. Oh, go ahead, Coach.
Oh, I was gonna say going along with that, it's like just because it's been done a certain way for a while doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, amen. Like, cause I think I get stuck in that as a person. I think we all do. Where we're like once, like even the way we're doing this podcast right now, or the way we're setting everything up, it's like like you have it a certain way, and then like it's like you might put time and effort into it. It's like, but there can always be a way to revamp, and just being willing to listen to that, and then also take it and go with it, and so that's kind of like one of those things like we all get like I think what creates is a lot of it is insecurity when there's moments when I don't want to listen to someone else's opinion or advice. You know, and I think that's where it comes. A lot of people get again, even with those people in IT. It's like they're. It's not that they're insecure. It's like they just maybe it is insecurity, but maybe it's also ego is another part of that. But it's
or like a bit of comfort too. It's like
comfortability.
Why go outside my box when I like being inside my box?
Yeah,
thing,
exactly.
You know?
Yeah, comfort is like and Nightmare and I were just talking about this. I said the best way to live your life is always choose the path of being uncomfortable. Because then you won't life won't force you to be uncomfortable when you need to. You forced yourself and you controlled your life, you know. And so yeah, those two mean the most to me. And everybody at home, it's Moneyball, The Art of Winning an Unfair Game. Michael Lewis was the first quote I had said, and the second quote was Bill James. So just those were. I'd watched the movie recently, and there's a good book for me.
I have a question for you guys. Do you feel like the beginning first half as of right now, do you feel like the beginning first half of growing up, going to school as a kid, you faced a lot of how should I say it, like you're faced with a lot of scenarios where you're put in uncomfortable positions where you're like under a lot of stress too, to like let's say you had to do a presentation in front of class, you had a big project due, something like that. Like for me personally, I feel like I faced a lot more of that as a younger kid versus as a young adult, you know, like, man, I'll never, like, the stress I had as a kid growing up, like, being scared to do stuff out of my own comfort zone, like, maybe it's just because I was a kid, but man, it would eat me up to the point where, like, I'll never forget like the stress I went under as a kid, and I never want to relive it, you know. And I mean, I do have my regrets, but it's what shaped me and molded me to who I am today, so I'm proud of it.
Mhm.
But I never want to relive that, you know. It's just not a
Yeah.
good experience. So that's the way I feel.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't have a lot of like put into super uncomfortable situations, like because I kind of knew what I liked and what I didn't like. Probably my bigger ones were
But in
going.
school, you're forced.
Yeah, yeah, especially because I went to a private school for high school. I was in public school my whole life, and then for high school I was sent to Mater Dei, and I didn't know anybody. Sans a couple of guys from Beef being one of them from a baseball camp that we did the summer before. But going in knowing nobody and everyone else kind of um, they came in from other Catholic schools in the area, and they kind of stayed with the people they knew that were going to their own Catholic schools. So that was pretty uncomfortable, I guess. But again, I came out of it with Beef and a few years later Coach. So I mean, I guess that was, and I got to go to school with my cousins. That was cool too. But yeah, I didn't have a lot of like super uncomfortable like experiences. That's kind of why I think I kind of stay in my comfort zone so much, and it's hard for me to venture out of it. But yeah, that was my childhood.
But even in school, like let's say like when you had like to present by yourself in front of a bunch of students, like
Yeah,
that didn't make you uncomfortable?
it made me uncomfortable, but I mean, I just sort of just did it and just BS my way through it, and then I went and sat down and had my had your little panic attack, and then I just kind of let it pass. I feel like I need to, if I was going to talk to a therapist, I feel like I would ask them, is something wrong with me that I don't remember a lot of my childhood? Like I didn't commit a lot of it to memory. I remember like a couple of specific things, but I don't remember a lot. Like when I hear my parents or like you guys talk about things that happened in your childhood.
Yeah, mine's fading a lot.
I would say mine's fading too. I just
Yeah.
remember the dumb shit moments.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember.
We're getting old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
we're definitely
remember
getting old.
hardly of any high school. Like people ask me about people that we went to high school with. I'd be like, I have no idea who that is.
Sometimes I think you never went to high school with me.
Maybe.
Well, people are different too. Like,
you're
Yeah.
just like
I'm
you're
not good
like
with
I'm
names.
I'm actually like
Yeah.
strapped in a like you don't even exist either.
This is the Matrix.
Yeah. No, I'm like in a crazy jacket. I'm talking to myself and
Yeah.
pooping my
this
pants.
whole time, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane
Wait, how is this
asylum.
any different than your usual week?
Well, that was my reflection.
Yeah, reflection of last 15 years. But yeah,
Hey G, I think it's interesting that you actually asked that, because I literally just had a flashback probably within the last week of and maybe I think it's because this literally like kind of like scarred me a little bit. It was I don't remember everything in high school, but what I do remember, I forgot, I think I was in psychology class, and we had to come up with skits, and we had to have somebody was like had to demonstrate some sort of like psychological disorder or
Oh my
like
God.
distress, like and stuff. And so thankfully it wasn't me, because they diagnosed me on the spot. But we had to like do this skit, and it had to be for a certain amount of time. Well, the people that I was working with were not necessarily like Rhodes scholars of the high school.
Gotcha.
And they're dudes that I enjoyed hanging out with, but I'm like, I'm not the best psychology student, but I'm definitely like, I'm pretty sure my grade is like, in percentage wise, is like double what theirs was in the class.
Jeez.
So like, I noticed that the skit that we had, and she was like, our teacher was like pretty like strict on the time, and like I noticed our skit was running short because we had a clock in the room. So I just like went off script, and like they were done. We had like reached the end of what we had talked about together. And then I was like, this is Spencer's time. This is Coach's time to shine. To just go.
So you
total
broke out like
improv
Patrick
job.
Swayze in Dirty Dancing.
I would
This
say
is how
I
he
broke
was
out
in the
like
insane asylum for 3 months.
Yeah.
After.
no. I think I broke out more like Kevin Bacon in Footloose when he goes
No,
dancing in the
dude,
warehouse
Patrick
on
Patrick
his.
Swayze is way better than Dude, I cannot even believe you're about to do that. Patrick Swayze's
I don't know.
like here. Did you see that? You haven't seen Dirty Dancing, huh? Have you guys seen it?
I've seen Dirty Dancing. It's just been a long
With
time.
Patrick Swayze, yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Swayze, but not the one he's talking about.
Oh yeah, he's like talking
Yeah.
to Kevin Bacon. Like, who? It's like you're about to put that on the same level. Like,
How dare you?
Who doesn't like Kevin Bacon and Footloose?
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not a bad movie. But
I haven't
like,
seen either.
But like Patrick
What?
Swayze,
Really?
like
Yeah, the Patrick Swayze one, man.
yeah, that's an
Dirty Dancing.
iconic
Hey,
where he like
on a
lifts
date,
that girl.
I mean-
up
girl.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah,
He-
my favorite
he-
Patrick Swayze moment was when he battled for the last Chippendales spot with
Oh
Barney,
yes,
aka Chris Farley. So
absolutely.
That was also
That
a good
was
dance.
close.
maybe that's what I should have broken out with.
Yeah.
But,
That was close.
so I
I'm a
started.
maniac,
I start-
maniac.
Oh god. I start like I like start like trying to think. I'm like shit. What am I gonna do? And so I forgot what like exactly what the scene was and whatnot. But I like kept trying to prolong it, and I said something because like all I remember is I laughed my ass off that I said it, and I looked to my right, and like my teacher and the rest of the class is just sitting there like God, you're sick, or like you're a fucking psycho. And
God, you're
I was
pulling
like
out all
sitting
the
there, and I'm like,
Chris
when I
Farley
realized that they're
references.
just like all staring at me, I was just like, God, I don't think I could sweat from any other body part like more like right now. Like I just like went back to my seat, and I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. Like I gotta get the fuck out of here. I gotta leave school. I gotta.
They think you
It was just like so
pooped your
mortifying.
pants or something. Like
Yeah,
you ran
honestly,
outside.
it probably would have been less embarrassing or like less
Wait,
traumatizing
what grade did you get?
than like I don't even remember, but I just remember my teacher. She's just like, okay, well, and
That-
then like
that
I think
happened.
she was at a loss for words. I'm just like, huh, how about them apples?
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, that's not embarrassing.
Like she probably talked to like the rest of, like when like you go home from work for the week, like she probably
Yeah.
went home and like just talked mad shit to you to her kids
Oh,
and
absolutely.
be like, all right, this is what you don't say in class, kids, and like
Dude, with
like-
that dead silence, it would have been so gold if you like looked at your watch and you're like, okay, and that's time.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
With the dead silence.
and scene. It's kind of like when
You blew
like
up out.
when Michael
Take a
J.
bow.
Fox in Back to the Future like plays at the homecoming dance.
Yeah.
And then he just goes off for guitar solo.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone
Johnny
just
Be
gets
Good.
stuck there staring at him, and he's just like, "Well, your kids are gonna love it."
Yeah.
And then
What
like,
if you
just walks
said
off
that?
stage and like,
Oh, dude, what if you had said your kids are gonna love it? Dude, that would have made it way worse.
Oh my God.
I think I would have had to find a new high school.
Like, what line could you say to make it like even more awkward? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's
Ta-da.
Do or do not.
Ta-da.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Oh my god.
Oh,
She's
man.
like, "Wow, this is the easiest F I've ever had to give." So
Like she's writing it as you're going.
Yeah.
Like, just like-
Oh man.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say I totally agree. So do you guys get nightmares of school still?
Not anymore. I used to though.
I still
like,
get- I still
especially
get
during
it.
school. Man, dude, it would keep me up at night. Like I would always fear about like I always thought like if you didn't like do well in school or you didn't finish a project, like
Yeah.
I thought I would die. Like it was insane how much like it drilled in my head like
Yeah.
I had to be a good student. I don't know where it stemmed from, but like I was always driven to be like a good student even though I struggled a lot.
Mhm.
I mean, my parents never put pressure on me. My mom would tell me in high school to like go out on Friday nights and get drunk, like go drink with your friends and have fun. But my dumb ass would be getting tutored on Friday nights, you know. But
Yeah, but
Like I said,
you got the
look at you
nightmares
now.
though.
not anymore.
But
like,
you got them like
I would-
during.
oh yeah, in
Yeah.
school, I would
Did
get
you
that
get 'em
like
after,
pressure. Not so much, especially after college, dude.
Nah. So
Went away.
I still get them. I will literally have nightmares or dreams of where I'm like late for a final or I
Mhm.
I didn't
That
even show
adrenaline
up.
rush, man.
Oh, it's horrible. Like I'll
Yeah.
wake up and I'm like in it and I'm like, man, I graduated a long time ago. Like why?
Yeah.
And it's but I bring that up because like you had said like I felt like when you're younger too because relativity like Einstein's relativity is that we've only lived on the earth for like you've only lived on the earth like let's say when you're like something that was like you were put on the spot like by let's say you're like 8 or 9 and your
Mhm.
teacher puts you on a spot and you have this report due you're 8 or 9 you've only been on the planet
Dude,
8 or 9 years
yeah, you're right.
but then like when like us
Mhm.
now it's like if we're put on the spot here it's like time's so much like quicker, it moves so quicker because we've
True.
been around, and it's also like like if you do the fraction into your life of minutes lived, and so I feel like when you're a kid, like things seem so much more a lot worse because time's slower to you than because of relativity.
That's a great
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of development too, because now you made me think about like when you're crushing on girls too, and especially
Yeah.
during your class.
Yeah.
And then you make a fool of yourself and you're the laughing stock of the school. Like,
Yeah.
dude, that shit eats at you night
Yeah,
by
it
night.
does. It does.
For
It's
you
really
parents
bad,
out
yeah.
there, like us kids, man, growing up in this generation, it was not easy. It's a
The
lot of
Yeah.
stress on us.
Kids got it easy now. They do virtual. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't my problem that I had gas problems.
Well, it's like there was a. Did you guys ever watch Superbad? Like when he talks about
Did we ever watch Superbad?
when he tucks his boner into the waistband.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my lord! Like that
Dude,
Jonah
right,
Hill
it's-
line.
yeah.
It was like he.
It's
probably,
very
He
relatable.
summed up freshman and sophomore year
Yeah.
for me in a nutshell right there by saying that line. I was like,
You walked around with your wiener in your waistband for 2 years.
I had to do.
You gotta do what you gotta
Desperate
do,
time.
Spencer.
Do
Low-rise pants. Is
Do or
that-
do not.
There is no try.
Yeah.
Or like girls think you like you have a boner because you have those shorts and it like
They
does
like
the-
roll up.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
roll up. Or
I-
do jeans do that?
I did sweatshirt. I was a giant sweatshirt guy where I'd be like sweatshirt, or I'd take a binder and go like right in front, like especially when the bell just rang, I'd be like, and then be like, oh, that's like if I had shorts that like were still poking out a little
Yeah.
bit, I would take a binder and like walk. I would kind of like do a little butt in thing, like where I'd put my butt like a little in, and then I'm like kind of walking until it start, and then I'd put the binder over that area, to
or
like
I
hide
just
it.
sit in
God,
my freaking
teachers
desk
must have been
until
just
like
like-
it's gone.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll just wait till the storm.
Yeah, I probably
crashes.
should have. I was like, I'd pop up, but I mean, yeah, I think sweatshirt's the best way. It's like, because you have a bigger sweatshirt, you could just tuck it right
True,
over for a little bit,
true.
and it's like it hides it for a
The
little.
book theme works too.
Yeah, it does.
But
It
man,
does.
yeah, because like you think about all the bullying too, especially back in that day. Like,
Mhm.
well, I maybe it could be worse nowadays because it could be worldwide. Your embarrassment, but like, man, if you're like you had one bad day at school and everyone knew about it, it's like that stayed with you until you left that school, you know. And it's just like, man, I'll never forget. Like, I get bullied about anything, you know, wearing a Lion King shirt that was green that my mom made me wear as a kid. You know, I got bullied by like cholo girls. It was weird. Like I got teased more by cholo girls than anyone.
Mhm.
It was weird, but yeah, I'd get bullied for anything, for my weight, my ethnicity, you know, having acne as a teen. So yeah, you go through a lot. I think it's just the development of yourself, you know, like because you're trying to figure out who you are. Plus, you don't really have a choice of directions where you're going in a sense. Like you have to go to school, you have to do things in a routine as a kid, right? But when you become a young adult, you have that freedom to technically make choices in your life, right?
Mhm.
Whether good or bad.
Yeah.
In school, you're taught like, no, you only make good choices. Like I'll never forget, I got in a huge I don't even know what to call it. Like it was we were in third grade, and I got in trouble because I was a partner in crime with my friend Doug Woji again. Give you another shout out. We were friends, and he had a crush on a girl named Winter, and he wrote something like on her shoe, like with a Sharpie, and I can't even remember what it said, but like he did it because he had a crush on her, and I'm the guy who was like hanging out with him and like telling him to do it, you know, like I was like, yeah, do it, like you like her, write whatever you want. The girl took it the wrong way, got upset, started crying that he wrote on her shoe, and both him and I got in trouble with the school
What
as
did
third
he,
graders.
What did he write?
I don't even remember. Probably something stupid like
Just drawing dicks.
you know.
It's like in Superbad.
I don't think it was dicks, but he wrote something, and it affected her, and she told on the teacher. That was the thing about girls too. It's like they would just tattle on you for anything. So it's like you're always a bad guy. I don't know.
What I find interesting about like, cause I got bullied a lot too, is like in today's age they're always talking about like, it feels like you know cancel culture, and also I know we bring this up a lot, or I bring this up a lot, but cancel culture, and then also just like race seems to be a topic on everything these days. It's so funny because like I got bullied for like all the things that weren't racial related, and then like I like you know it may not be the case for something like you. It might have been there might have been racial related, right?
Mhm.
But like
A lot of racial related.
so that
I mean, people don't even. I don't even think people mainstream nowadays realize like this was like so popular back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And saying ching chong like
Yep.
all the time, but I don't see it ever anymore. Like ever, you know.
So-
Maybe once in a blue moon, but I would see that daily growing up as a kid, and it wasn't even like from one person. I'd be walking the halls, everyone's doing that to me, and it came to a point where like I didn't take it defensive anymore. I'm just like, you're insecure with yourself, and I'm just gonna move on. Like you're not gonna be my friend, obviously, so because my friends wouldn't do that to me, but Yeah, man. Like I'd walk halls and it's like literally one after the other, ching chong, because I'm the only Asian kid at the school, right?
Yeah.
So
And I feel like that's gonna so like think
God, I
about
love
that.
public school.
That's gonna go
I
away.
know, right?
So like with like cancel culture and like making kids think about that now, they're gonna, which is a good thing. They're gonna stop doing it. But what is gonna replace that? Where kids, because a lot
True.
of kids are just acting out because they're insecure too, right? They're like the
Mhm.
way I look at all the bullies that like picked on me is a lot of the times it was just straight insecurity that they were going through,
Yeah.
and they were picking on me because of my insecurities. And so I look at, and it's not like I'm trying to be passive or anything. Like, to me they did a lot of psychological damage, but you start replacing that. So like getting rid of Ching Chong and like all the Asian stereotypes, and even with African Americans, and you can keep going with every race. But like, what's gonna replace that? Do you know what I mean? Like, because kids aren't perfect. Like kids are going through a lot of like hormones and emotional things, and they're also reflecting what the bad stuff that's happening at home. So what's gonna happen? What's gonna take the place of that? What kind of bullying is gonna be the? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's always gonna be
It's
a
just gonna-
replacement.
Bullying of the future.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
it's
always
like-
going to be ways to bully people, right? It's just like pointing out the differences, like the imperfections, right? But if we continue to be in a world where like imperfections are like common, like people enjoy that, like that's what makes us unique as human beings. I think that's when we make a shift to like, in a sense, like have a better world for our younger generations coming up. Is like when we can diversify ourselves and make ourselves so unique to the point where like you really have nothing to make fun of that person about, and if you do, you're actually the outcast from everyone else. Like that to me is going to be a great world to live
I
in.
think that's what's shifting, because I'll talk to some of the young generation and I'm like almost amazed by them. A lot of times where I'm like, whoa, like there's a lot
Well,
of
I
times.
think ecstasy helps with a lot of that accepting too. But
I feel like people like the new kids bullying now is like bullying kids for not being hip.
or
and
rich, materialist,
Yeah.
like you don't have certain materials. Very
Yeah.
much like South Park. Like,
Yeah.
did you get that new Pokemon toy or that new video game and
Yeah.
try and keep up
But
with
like-
your friends?
But like not being with the trends or like not knowing what the
Exactly.
cool songs
yeah, like
or
so
what the
TikTok.
That will
TikTok,
probably
all that,
always
yeah.
be
TikToks,
relevant.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
To whatever the generation is.
I'm forever in the you're gonna get bullied department because
Oh yeah.
I don't know the new trends. I like my country, I like my metal, and that's about it.
Well,
That's
we're all
I need.
getting at the age where we're like, well, we're too old to give a
Yeah,
shit
it
about
doesn't
that.
matter
So.
anymore.
That's not music.
At this point, it's like I think at this point we're getting to the age where, well, at least with two of us married, when you guys start popping out kids,
Oh,
it's
God,
gonna
it's
be
gonna be
like the
bad.
movie Grown Ups, where everyone's like, yeah, we're badasses, and then you're gonna be like Adam Sandler fighting Stone Cold Steve Austin at some '80s party in your backyard.
Okay, you're saying okay. That'd be so cool. Wait, why is that
Yeah.
not cool?
I no, it is. I'm saying that. I mean, let's get there. So you two that are married, start working on that shit so we can get there. Okay.
Yeah, so we can have.
I
I'll
did
be the
buy-
David
Austin.
Spade
I
character.
did buy a lottery ticket today. I was feeling quite lucky, so we'll see.
Oh,
Oh.
you have to be like Beef. You're like, I'm winning the lottery.
I'm
Yeah,
winning the lottery.
I'm winning.
Yeah.
I've been told I'm going to.
You
Hey,
buy
Nightmare. How
yourself.
about you?
That's part of his
Yeah, my
insane
Junto
asylum
collection.
program.
Yeah, I will. Well, I'm gonna take the same path as our reflection, and I'm gonna make myself go last. So
Yeah.
that makes you third for
Yeah.
your quote here.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't really have a quote, but like I kind of go down YouTube rabbit holes. This is, I don't like. I'm kind of echoing what you said, G, about like I'm not the most avid reader, but I follow stuff on YouTube. But one of the YouTube rabbit holes that I consistently fall down is flat Earth and flat Earth
Yes.
debunking. And one of the main channels I follow is Simon Dan, and he every week he does a flat Earth video where he just debunks it. Like he'll record a flat Earth video or take a flat Earth video, and then play it. And then every time something happens that like the flat earther says like you can't do this, and he stops the video and it cuts to him. He's like, you can do that. Here's how you do it. And he does the experiment or like explains. He like cites experiments that prove that it does the thing that the flat earther says it doesn't do. Just today he posted go back. There's a really famous flat earther named Eric Dubay. He's like a conspiracy theorist. Like he thinks he's like the smartest person in the world. Kind of like he's real. The way he talks is super smug, and it just makes you want to punch him in the face. But he he put together like this documentary about flat Earth and like explaining.
He believes it's flat.
Yeah, he believes it's flat. Well, there's a lot of also like conspiracy theorists that like say they don't actually believe it. They're just trying to con ignorant people into giving them money, which is that's next level conspiracy theorist right there. But
That makes sense.
But Eric Dubé, he posted this flat Earth documentary with a couple other flat earthers, and Simon Dan has been like, he just posted a video today. He said he's gonna go through every minute of it, and every time that he says something, he's just gonna jump on it. And the interesting thing with flat earthers is that they repeat the same thing over and over again, even though people have debunked it. Like, what's one that they always do? So flat earthers will say how to calculate the curvature of the Earth that they say is 8 inches per mile squared. It's just something that they say they can't, like, they don't know how to derive it. They don't know how. And flat Earth debunkers will be like, that formula, it's a parabola. If you pull back enough, that the curve, it's a parabola. It's not a sphere. So every time the flat earther says 8 inches per mile squared, you know that they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just ignoring every argument that's been placed in front of them. Another one is water isn't level, or water always finds its level, and it's like, no, they say water doesn't curve, and all the debunkers are like, no, it curves all the time. You're just not looking at the right place. There's gravity. Like, it's just crazy that they believe this, and the head in the sand is next level, that they won't listen to reason, and they won't listen to like the science and people explaining it, even non-scientific terms. They'll give you real world examples, like it's observably not flat. The world is not a flat surface, and there's even ways you can do it without being scientific. Like, you ask a flat earther, they don't even have they don't have a model of a flat Earth. They just they put forth like these what's the word I'm looking for? These like presentations that show what they think happens, but those presentations aren't compatible with other presentations to explain different phenomena. Like, one of the main ones, I watched a guy his name's Professor Dave. He was a chemistry professor in college, or in colleges, and he debunked a flat Earth. They're called the Globe Busters, and what they had was like, so they tried to explain seasons on a flat Earth, and they tried to explain day and night on a flat Earth, and the two models that the flat earthers used were not compatible with each other. Like, one debunked the other. It just didn't work. It was just glorious
that people have like lifelong careers doing something like this, where like, even if they prove right or wrong, like, what does that do for?
That's one of the main things. Is like, what
society
is society
or them
in
general? So like, how do you fund a project? Like, what idiots are funding these guys to continue on with their work of like this bullshit? You know, like, what a waste of
it's crazy
human effort, I guess you could say.
And they won't even. The weird part is that they spend all this time and effort in just making YouTube videos and like BS.
Probably make a lot of money.
Probably, yeah, but with BS experiments, but they don't do real experiments that would prove that the world is not flat.
Yeah, so anything they do, it doesn't even really matter.
Yeah, they'll just be like the one thing that they do all the time, like it's notorious if you ever watch a flat Earth video, is that they'll be on the beach, and they have a Nikon camera, and they just zoom in on a boat out in the ocean, and they're like, look, it should be over the curve, but I can still see it, and then it cuts. It's like, no, just stay there and zoom in, and it'll go over the curve, because every time you zoom in, you're bringing it back into focus. You're bringing it back over the curve, but eventually that thing's gonna go over the curve.
But do you see how you're their customer?
Yeah, I definitely see.
So like that's.
But I don't
yeah,
watch.
like-
I don't watch flat Earth videos. I watch flat Earth debunking videos.
But that's what I'm saying though. Is like they work off.
Still
of
creates
each
a market
other.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they didn't exist though, you wouldn't watch.
Would
the
it blow your
debunked.
mind if like all those guys were friends?
No, it wouldn't blow
Yeah.
my mind at all.
Yeah.
I
sometimes like I always
no,
think
I did-
about that.
That's what I was saying. Like it's there's a conspiracy that the conspiracy's fake.
Even
But
like the
besides
people
the conspiracy, what about the guy that you like and you watch? What if he was just part of this whole scheme?
I could totally see that
Because a
happening.
part of me
That's
is
crazy.
like what G was saying is like I'll watch people debunking them and I'm like, you guys are just as pointless to me as the people. Like, why are you spending your effort even debunking them? Like, you know what I mean? It's already been proven.
I think it's because there
It's
are
to get
people-
money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes, to get money.
It's
But
like-
like,
There's
Yeah,
a market in
but
it
it's
for
an
them
easy.
too.
But it's an
Yeah.
because it's. Well,
But-
how are you said to get
sci-
money?
But
to make-
science is the market. Like
to
we
make
learned it in
the-
the third grade. Yeah.
to
it's
make
like,
the-
I don't, you know what I mean?
But to
Like,
make the video is to get money. But it's to get money, and then it's because there are people that are really believing this flat Earth BS, and if
but do you
there's
think,
no
like,
if there's no pushback, but if there's no pushback to people just putting out the Earth's flat, and people start believing it.
well, the pushback is what they learned when they were growing up in science, right? Like geography.
But
and
these are
like,
grown-ups that aren't in school that
Yeah,
aren't
but
looking, but they're not looking up. But they're not
But-
looking up the
But
experiments.
you still are
and-
taught like at a young age, like it's the Earth has been proven to, you know what I mean? Like,
But the flat earthers say, oh, the government rules the schooling, and they're gonna brainwash kids, and you've been brainwashed. Into
I just find
thinking
it.
the
I
flat
just find
Earth's
like the
flat,
whole like.
or the Earth's
I find
round.
the most funny part about this whole like flat Earth versus like the people that go after them is I'm like, I feel like watching people that are going against them is like, it's no. I don't know why they can't just pull out like a third grade book and be like, here, you're done.
because
We're
they
done.
don't believe it. The flat
Yeah.
earthers, they say that
But even that
it was
like
brainwashing
that's kind of my
by
thing is like
government.
that's my thing is like even then it's like at this point is this you could tell that these people like what G was talking about is like I feel like they're involved with like they're in bed with these people because they're like they know because really what sells is negativity sells, sex, drugs, right? Drugs it sells, right?
Mhm.
Negativity sells. Like look at like the whole like Mayweather thing that just happened with that Jake Paul thing.
Yeah.
Like people
Yeah,
will
that's another
click
thing.
on that stuff. So if someone says, "Oh, like if
He took the guy's hat, and it's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, like-
biggest news ever,
Yeah,
right?
and
and
it's
biggest
dumb.
publicity.
It was the
stuff.
worst acting ever.
good
he
way
should
to
have
put it-
said
Yeah.
he should have said the Earth is flat. That would have
Yeah,
been better.
Yeah, that would have been crazy
Yeah.
too. But the
Yeah.
other
Oh,
thing
Floyd
too,
Mayweather and reading.
Floyd Mayweather just
I
starts
mean-
like debunking
that
it.
Jake Paul is a fucking genius on marketing and building
Oh, yeah.
publicity, But
He is.
like a big comparison you could do is like cure for cancer, right? It's like I guarantee there's a cure out there, right? But they're not going to do it because imagine how much money they're going to lose out
Yeah,
on curing people, right? It's the same thing as like
Yeah.
if that guy really debunks and those guys are like, you know what, you're right. He loses his business and they lose their business.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I mean, if I was that guy, right,
Yeah.
behind the scenes, I'd be working out deals with
I
them.
definitely don't think that it's a face value thing. I want to say that there's some willful ignorance. There's got to be some willful ignorance going on.
I have no respect for people
Yeah.
like that, man.
Okay.
That's
You brought up Floyd Mayweather, and do you remember him and 50 Cent going at it?
oh yeah, for sure.
Do you remember that?
I remember him like having a book or 50 Cent.
Yeah,
or-
50
yeah,
Cent. 50 Cent challenged Floyd
to Harry Potter.
Floyd Mayweather to read read one page of Harry Potter, and I'll donate $500,000 to a charity of your
It
choice.
was a really great video. I
Yeah.
remember it like being like
and
it,
Floyd,
it was ALS. It was ALS challenge. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
and
Yeah.
he wouldn't do it,
Yeah.
and everyone thinks that Floyd Mayweather can't read.
Well, it's
can't.
a lose. It's
Yeah.
a lose-lose though.
Yeah.
Like, cause like if there's a whole video of him reading Harry Potter, it's just like I think
Yeah, you
honestly that
can't
would go
win.
viral too.
Seriously,
though.
I
Yeah,
want to
like-
see that.
Yeah,
Well,
it's-
it's like the Jake
He's
Paul
been
fight.
working up to it for the last 10 years.
yeah.
It's like, dude, it's like the Jake
Like
Paul fight. Why
practicing?
would he
Memorizes?
fight that
Well-
YouTuber? Like it's a lose-lose for Mayweather, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like as a professional fighter, if
Money,
you
though,
really
now.
money, right?
Yeah.
But it's like if you are really a true athlete to your sport and like you have
Yeah.
a lot of respect
Yeah,
for
I'm
that
with you
sport,
on that.
you would never stoop down to that guy's level because it's a lose-lose for you as a champion.
Yeah, I agree.
Like don't you
Yeah.
want to carry that legacy on? You don't want to ruin it. Like, dude, he went like 58-0, whatever, and then he lost to this YouTuber for $10 million.
Well, that's what I want to see what happens. Well, because also Mayweather, what is he like 40
Yeah,
something?
he's something like
He's
that.
old.
Yeah,
He's
that's
like
another
50.
thing.
Isn't,
It's like-
Isn't Pacquiao
48.
fighting one of them too?
no way.
I feel like Pacquiao's coming
Well-
to
Jake
do
Paul,
something.
have you guys seen Jake Paul? Jake
He's-
Paul's gotten pretty buff.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, he got
Logan's the real one, I think.
Well, Logan's like thin.
Yeah,
thin,
that's who
Yeah,
but,
Mayweather's
like,
fighting.
But
he's
yeah,
fighting the
he's
other
he's
fighting
fighting
Logan.
Logan.
But Jake Paul also wanted to get in on that.
Shit.
But he's like Jake
But he's
Paul's
too
guy.
big of a weight
I feel
class,
like
huh?
Jake Paul like took a lot of steroids. I don't
Probably.
know, because like you look at his size and you compare it, like they'll look at his back and I'm like, dude, I mean, you could work out and
It's
get
all
that
pimply.
size, but he's just like loaded
Yeah.
now. He got
His
pretty
body
stuffed.
size,
Yeah.
like the proportions.
They're
are
definitely
crazy.
athletes. Like
Yeah.
they're definitely athletes.
One of them was a wrestler.
Logan, I think Logan
Yeah, Logan
is-
was in.
yeah.
That makes sense.
I
his
would love
body.
to see him in a UFC fight.
That's
Not
what
a,
everyone
like-
wants to
yeah,
say. Is
it's
like, why do you
that.
keep fighting these UFC fighters? Like,
Oh,
why
in a
do you
boxing
keep
ring? Yeah,
boxing?
boxing.
You need to
Because
either
they'll get massacred, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
it'd
either
be-
need to
be-
get into the ring or
Dude.
into the octagon, or you need to fight a boxer. Like
That would be like
they
Conor
fought a-
McGregor fighting Floyd Mayweather in the cage. It's like
Yeah, it would've been
Mayweather's
game
going to
over.
get killed.
yeah, but like, what was I gonna say about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather? McGregor got some hits in there, but
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather just danced around him and stung him a couple times.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right, Coach, your turn.
Yeah. All right. So my quote, or mine's gonna be a quote. It's actually gonna be kind of a two-part quote because they go hand in hand here. My one of my favorite people, actually, I want to get all of his books so I can read them all. Is John Wooden, the famous head basketball coach for UCLA.
Mm.
He's regarded as very is one of the best, if not the best, basketball coach, in the college game for his success that he had at UCLA, but also has just the type of person he was and like things that he did and his personality and his work ethic and everything. But I recently found out, or I read that one of his favorite quotes, and I thought it was a quote from him, was actually from the Junto founder, Benjamin Franklin. And the quote is failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And that was actually one of John Wooden's favorite quotes that everyone wrote about, come from Ben Franklin. And then one of my favorite John Wooden quotes, that I mean, it's really hard to like pick some of his stuff because he has stuff that kind of applies to a lot of different walks of life. It kind of applies to coaches in dealing with athletes. It applies to athletes and like their work ethic, or being somebody that you want to be. And then I feel like even like the stuff that talks about becoming someone that you should be proud of, or having to do with like work ethic, it really ties in. You can kind of apply it to not just like a sport mentality, but even like the four of us, like that. The four of us could apply stuff like that to our work, whether it's in sales or whatever we're doing. I just happen to be in coaching, and so like it kind of, I see it all the time, and it's kind of a little bit of a self-reflection for me in that sense. So one thing that I saw here, and it's kind of I don't use this quote outright with my athletes, but it's kind of a practice that I like to preach and I like to try to do. But the quote is, if you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it over? And that's something that it's kind of stuck with me because through coaching, I get athletes in, I work with kids that haven't necessarily always been taught how to do things correctly.
That's interesting.
And the process is most of the time is a little slow at the beginning, working with kids, because I want them to be able to have the fundamentals and do things correctly. Because in reality, it's like, I mean, the quote kind of says, like, for us, like once we get going in a season, like when fall comes around for a lot of teams in spring, like if we don't have time, or if we don't take the time to do it right now, like I don't have time. I don't have, like, the next time that I can do it over or take time to do it is probably a year from now, because I'm not going to really be able to correct a lot of things, once they get into season and a lot of stuff. So it's like, I just like that mentality of having to like avoid taking shortcuts in order to get instant gratification, and try and really focus on like what the goals are of your project or whatever it is you're doing, and really try and hammer down doing it correctly the first time, so that you don't have to spend extra time to come back and do it over, or you don't have to make time to do something over because you didn't do it right the first time. And so that's something that just kind of stuck with me because, as I prepare programs for the summer, or if I think about other things like, shit, if I shortcome stuff, it's like I could have just taken some extra time to do it right now, but now I'm having to go back and create more work for myself. Really, I'm really going against like what I preach and what I want to be as a coach and how I want to be as a better coach and a better person. So that's yeah. I could go on and on about like John Wooden quotes and just stuff that he says about character. He's obviously got his pyramid of character or I guess it's qualities, or I think is what they say of what builds good character or of someone's character that isn't also an interesting read. But yeah, I'm using John Wooden mixed in with a little bit of Ben Franklin tonight.
That was a
It's a
great quote.
solid quote.
Yeah, that's a great quote, Coach. Um, like when you said that, it's the first time I've heard that specific quote. But man, it resonates so well with me because when I work with beef in IT, my job as a sales rep is to try and get, if we're doing like a big, huge like refresh for servers, switches, and stuff like that, like pretty much the whole back end infrastructure running a business, right? If I don't get that right the first time, there's going to be so many mistakes that like I have to fix and try to remediate, and by that time it's already too late to go back to the client and ask for like more money or say, hey, we screwed up here, like, but you're going to get penalized for it due to our negligence or like not scoping this right or not taking the time to scope it out right. So I'm a huge advocate about like taking the time. I mean, even in my role in my industry, like I don't have a lot of time. There's timelines I have to meet, right? But I try to make the most of my time to make sure I dot my I's, I cross my T's, I try and get everything down on paper, and make sure that there's full transparency within all parties involved. That's partner vendors, that's my team, that's the client, and yeah, I mean that's just the beginning of the battle, and then the next part of the battle is like having someone like Beef, my project manager, who helps me like stay organized, stay on top of tasks, making sure we're setting expectations and then also hitting those goals and those milestones for the client to make sure that the project is done cleanly, correctly, professionally, and on time. And
Mhm.
like, and that's kind of like my saying too with like clients or even just talking to my executive about my sales pipeline is like I under promise and over deliver, and I think like that is what keeps me sane, and that it helps relieve the pressure off of my back a lot. Because I'll see some of my other colleagues where they're definitely overselling themselves. Like they're over promising stuff that's not committed, and then it bites them in the ass later because they promised something that they weren't 100% sure was going to come through. And I've been there and done that too, and I'm still learning day to day, like from my mistakes, and hopefully I can just get better. But that's something like I definitely totally agree with you, man. Because I mean, if you don't do it right the first time, guess what? You're probably going to spend even more time just trying to fix it. And like,
Mm-hmm.
who wants to live like that, you know?
I love that. I
So
love that sales mantra. Uh, Under promise, over deliver.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah, it works great.
Yeah, I bet.
Well,
Yeah,
and
in all walks of life.
well, people think, like I grew up where people like had this stereotype of like if I'm proud to be a salesperson, like you're a sleazebag, you're a car salesman, right? And I always try to explain to people there's many types of different salespeople, but to me there's two. There's either the typical car salesman or there's going to be the consultant. And I'm the consultant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there to earn a paycheck from you. I'm there to build a relationship, show you value, and build trust.
Get you what you want.
Yeah, and make sure that I'm taking care of you. Because at the end of the day, what I mean, how can you even call them a client if really all you're doing is selling product, but like you're not receiving anything else other than like a thank you. You're not building like a book of business with them. They're just there because they know you're an easy buy. But if you're not offering anything of value, I mean, really, you're just a middleman to turn around something.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I have more respect for a salesperson title when you can actually like take a client on a journey and add value to their business, their life. Because I don't only help their position and their business, I want to help their lives be less stressful. And by doing that, I can add value by, you know, giving them free consulting advice on how to make their lives better. They don't have to necessarily buy something from me, but what I can do is help them, give them insight on certain products that they may not have time to look over themselves, right, and
For sure.
evaluate. So,
I feel
Mhm.
like you and
yeah.
my dad could talk for hours.
Like that. There's like an honor code with
Make
the
it happen.
salespeople. Like, don't make a bad name for salespeople. Like just because like you want to get a quick deal and a quick paycheck. Like don't. I've learned over time, man. Like if you're honest with your clients and you're upfront and you're fully transparent, like yeah, maybe they'll be mad if you messed up, but if you're honest about it, they'll probably respect you a lot more just the fact that you did that because it's uncommon, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
sure.
great
Well,
point,
boys,
Coach.
thank you. I think that like all in all, I think we had. I mean, I think this definitely this Junto question, origin question, sparked up some good shit.
Yeah,
I think it brought out a lot of good from all four of us actually. So I was actually really happy about this one. I know when we kind of planned this one out, I think when I think kind of or I think when I think Beef actually picked it for this week. And when I saw it, I was like, I kind of already know what direction I'm going to go in because of the book that I had started to read again that I got from in high school. So I want to have us go and transition into our next segment. This is a new one for us. I'm excited to see how this goes and where this goes. We have Nightmare Fuel is gonna go ahead and he's gonna lead us on our journey of this. But this segment is called "Am I the Asshole?"
All right. Yeah. So
Take it away, Nightmare.
there is a famous subreddit called "Am I the A-hole asshole?" and it is a collection of people that post situations that they got in, and either that they don't know how they feel about it, or they were scolded, or the people in the transaction, whatever it is, they feel like they were scolded or called the asshole, and they are taking to the internet asking, am I the asshole, or is this other person the asshole? So
we're playing the jury today.
We're playing the jury. We're seeing
Okay.
if so on Reddit, the name for original poster is OP, the original poster. So I'm gonna say, am I the asshole for calling my girlfriend a whore? So original poster, hey guys, my 19-year-old girlfriend and I, 22-year-old male, were hanging out today, and she called me a whore. So I asked, how am I the whore? And she replied, that's because your body count, which is around 20. I thought we were joking, so I replied, you're one to talk, considering your body count. You're the whore in this relationship. Since we were talking about body counts recently, and she told me she stopped counting after 50.
So wait, he said. So to clarify, she called him a whore first.
She called him a whore first, and he went back.
It almost seemed like
This one's easy.
Yeah, the way you explained it.
She called him a whore, and then he went back. No, you're the whore, and she stopped counting after 50.
But he had 20. He slept with 20.
He's at 20.
Body counts. They're referring to sleeping with people.
So he ends saying, I would like to say I have absolutely no problem with her number, and I would never judge her or make her feel bad about it. Anyways, after I said that, she got mad. I told her I thought we were just joking around and it was meaningless fun. But I think she thought I was serious. Am I the asshole for calling?
What if it was like? What if like it's all context as it's written out? What if she was like, "Oh, you're such a whore," and then he's like, "You're a whore," and then
he gets all
like,
defensive.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Am I the asshole, really?" And then it's like him being.
Yeah.
I don't think he is though.
You don't think he's the asshole?
Yeah,
no, he's not.
Assuming that he was playing there, he was who knows what the tone of
guilty until proven innocent, or sorry, innocent until proven guilty.
I feel like she's just a little defensive because that number's pretty high,
50 at 19.
That's
hey, if you're gonna dish the shit, you ever take it. If you can't take it, don't talk it.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, okay. So I'm writing that down. That's gonna be my next quote.
Yeah.
Can you say that again, just real quick?
What's that?
Say it again. That was really good.
What if you can't take the shit, don't dish it?
Yeah, something like that. But you said it really well earlier.
Well, hey, good thing.
Yeah.
Good thing is we have this recorded, so we can go back and listen to it.
Yeah. So that one was pretty.
That was a one-time special by Coach right there.
That was probably the fastest one we did because it was so easy. It was like almost like jury.
I like these ones because
this is all unanimous.
We can go through. I didn't actually read this whole one, so we can see how it is. So, am I the asshole?
Let's go on this adventure.
Yeah, am I the asshole for being angry at my parents for calling the office of the school I teach at? I am 26 and teach elementary school. I live a few states away from my parents and have no family here. I've made sure they have points of contact with people here and they also have my boyfriend's number. When my phone went to voicemail and text wouldn't deliver, they called the office of my employers, the elementary school, to quote, see if I made it to work okay today. I'm upset because that's my workplace, regardless if it's a school. I feel like it was inappropriate. There were other ways of getting into contact with someone who would know what was going on. So is this original poster?
did
We need
she
to know
say
the
anything?
timelines here.
Yeah. Did she say something too? Was she say anything to them, or
It
I
doesn't
don't?
look like she said anything to
Oh,
them.
she's just saying I'm an asshole for thinking
yeah,
this
for
is a bad thing.
yeah, for thinking it's a bad
Wait,
thing.
can you say the beginning part though again? Like when she went to school? Like
Yeah,
her
so
job?
so when my phone went to voicemail and
Uh-huh.
text wouldn't deliver, so they're trying to contact her
Yes.
at work.
Mm-hmm.
They called the office of the school and were like, "Did she make it to work today? Is she okay?"
See, but this is where like timelines are very important. Like, did she not answer all throughout the day during school?
Yeah.
Because like,
Yeah.
obviously she had breaks. She had a
Like
lunch
3
break.
weeks
Well,
later.
So it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
so
like,
let's-
was it nighttime by now? Or and then the
Yeah.
next day, you know, like.
I think this is why this is kind of a good one because now we can go. Is she the asshole? If she waited forever, then is she the asshole? But if it was immediate, if they're like just spamming her,
I
spamming her
don't
with-
think
It's like
we're
one
getting-
missed call and they call.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I understand privacy and stuff, but I don't think
I don't think the parents were in the wrong. They were just
yeah,
concerned.
yeah,
And I guarantee
I think she is an
this
asshole.
Especially
girl
if
was
there's
raised
backstory.
with very caring
Yeah.
parents, and she's just being a brat.
yeah. Because you could actually, especially in today's age, there's things like Life 360 or Find My iPhone, where you know what I mean, where you could enable that and say, "Hey, parents, I'm here," and it actually has the ability where you can click a button and then it'll ping her, right? And
Mhm.
like, and I guess like if she's not answering that, then like, and you know your parents are like that, like the thing is, I'd rather have parents like that care that much than
Yeah.
not have parents that care
Well,
that
and
much.
it's like you're an adult. Explain the situation of what happened. Your parents were concerned. I mean,
Oh, yeah,
that's
to the
just
school.
life.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like don't be so prideful that you're that embarrassed that your parents care enough. Like, it's literally one of those situations. Like, be appreciative that you have parents, and then second, be appreciative that your parents give a shit about you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, man, screw that chick.
Yeah. Okay.
She
So
is.
so
Especially if
asshole.
there's a backstory
Asshole.
to it.
Asshole.
Yeah, there
asshole.
has to be a
She's
backstory.
asshole.
But I mean, there's so many things she did wrong here that she's an asshole.
Yeah. Even if
What's your parents too?
Yeah,
You know,
can
it's
they
like-
adopt
yeah.
me? Like, hello?
Yeah.
Shit.
I'll
Coach.
adopt you.
Thanks, coach. I need a good burly hug.
God, he gives the
Yeah.
best. He gives the best ones.
He does.
I do.
Coach, are you on the
I'm
asshole?
not, I'm
train?
not gonna even pretend. I'm not gonna even pretend. Yeah, no. I'm
You
all
have to be
aboard the
modest.
asshole train.
Woo, woo.
Toot toot. Woot toot.
Yeah.
I'm
That
all
That was another
aboard.
easy one.
Yeah, I
Dude,
don't
we
full
think.
should be
steam ahead.
executioners.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Give it a little thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah. Yeah, the gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
Fill my beer mug.
Oh man.
Maximus Aurelius.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine if we were like on thrones, like with the
It would be-
robes and
yeah.
everything, and then like the peasant they come up and like that they have to display this and then we judge them.
Am I the asshole?
It's like Shark
Oh.
Tank, but for Am I the Asshole?
Oh man.
Oh, dude.
If you want us to keep
All
going,
right.
I can.
Yeah, let's do.
I have a
think-
feeling
Yeah,
like
let's-
there's
let's
so many
do-
people on here that
Let's
are
do
like, very
let's do at least
petty.
one more.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
I've
one
just
or
I
two.
just grabbed one that it was short and it wasn't too long. Am I the asshole for telling my
That's what
neighbor?
she said.
Heyo. Telling my neighbor she should move her car. So earlier today, I was taking my trash bin into the side of my house, and the way I
Mhm.
have to do it is I have to bring them between a storage trailer and my neighbor's car, which is just a couple of feet away from it, that they never even use anymore. So it is extremely hard to not hit the car. Keep in mind she has about 10 more feet of room to move her car around her driveway, and this particular day I accidentally hit her car with the trash can, scratching it a bit. So I went up to her. She was across the street getting mail from the mailbox, and told her I accidentally hit her car and I apologized. She started yelling at me that I should have been more careful, so it kind of got me annoyed. I said sorry again and started to go back to my house until she yelled that I'm paying for the paint and to paint over it. Keep in mind it was a pretty small scratch that wasn't even noticeable from far away. I turned around, pissed off at this point, and started shouting back that it's not my fault she parked so close, and I'm not paying for something that isn't even that noticeable. She called me an asshole for refusing to pay, and that it was noticeable. I was thinking that when I was thinking that I was thinking then that she was seriously overreacting, but now I'm thinking she didn't even see the scratch yet since we were across the street and she probably thought it was way bigger than it actually was. So
This whole thing is
she
this
the
guy's
asshole?
fault.
Yeah.
This whole thing is this guy's fault from
he's an
start to
asshole.
finish.
Yeah.
He's the
Yeah.
asshole?
Yeah, 100%. Because it's like it's a public
I mean-
street too.
Yeah.
It's public. Like you know what I mean. If you're parking on a public street, like if they're
Well,
not.
and he didn't have
yeah.
the courage to talk to her in the first place. It doesn't sound like he brought this
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
ever.
Oh yeah, that's
And so
yeah.
he
Set
just went
expectations.
with the
He's the
struggle.
asshole.
Yeah, and it's like, and the
How do you
other
not
thing-
know you're gonna hit a car?
Okay, so
yeah,
that's one thing.
it
I'm
seems
sorry,
like
like,
it was
he's not-
intentional. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's not moving at a high rate of speed, so it's like he could have
you
been
can
like,
be careful.
"Oh, it's getting closer. It's getting closer.
Yeah.
Oh shit, it's scratching the car. No.
Yeah,
oh,
and who's to
shit."
say he didn't do it because he was already pissed off at her, right? But here's the other thing too: is like, he said, you know, it's hardly noticeable. Well, guess what, you fucking idiot! Like, it was noticeable enough for you to go over there and apologize to her. So who's the dumbass now? Of course, if you put yourself in her shoes, wouldn't you want the person to pay too?
Yeah.
Especially if they recognize they did the damage. Hello,
Mhm.
like, what world are you in, kid?
I think
Yeah.
the only thing is like I could see it as if like she was parked and because a lot of times when you put it on the street like that,
Mhm.
it's by the driveway.
And
so
it's blocking the driveway.
yeah, so if she's blocking the driveway, then I'd be like, okay,
I agree.
then she's wrong. But
Yeah.
he didn't say that, so I like it's his is like he ranted so much that he was almost trying to justify.
Yeah, he's really trying to justify it.
Yeah, whereas like man, you're
Yeah.
her
I
reacting
feel like
that
a lot of
way,
these
yeah.
people don't really have much to do with their lives.
I also
Yeah.
feel like they live in Irvine. That was an Irvine incident. I swear on my life, I think that was an Irvine.
Oh,
like I
gosh.
have a vibe.
Yeah. Keep in mind she has 10 more feet to move her car around her driveway. It's like I'm trying to
I mean, the
imagine,
best solution would have been he should have talked to her first and then been like,
Exactly.
"Hey, I'll just wait till
Yeah.
I have room," and maybe she would have actually done it. I don't know.
I mean, he
Yeah.
would have a stronger
not their
case if
neighbor.
he's like, I tried talking to her, and we tried negotiating, and I told her there may be a chance that this would happen, and here we are. Like obviously he's still in the wrong in a sense, but
Mhm.
at least he attempted to try and talk it out with her, and then she wouldn't probably be this irate because
Yeah.
he warned her about it. So I don't
Yeah.
know. People are crazy. So.
asshole.
Well, the other thing too is like I lived in a street growing up where everybody parked like super close,
That's
like
true.
gridlock. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like to me like I always laugh when I meet other people where they'll get like really butthurt about like oh my god they parked in our like they're in big homes or bigger houses where they have like front lawns and stuff and it's like oh they parked in our front yard
On a
our
public street?
yeah on a public street
Yeah.
and I'm like you don't even know what it was like wow it was like crazy where I was lucky if I even got it so to me when I hear that I'm like dude unless he lives in like one of those streets where like he has to work like
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to imagine but even then
The
it's
way-
like it doesn't make a lot of sense that they would even you wouldn't put on those kind of streets you don't put your what's that called the garbage bin you don't put that on those kind of streets so.
The way it sounds like is that like her driveway is adjacent to the path he has to take to bring the
Mhm.
to bring the trash can up. So like if she had just moved her car over a little bit in her own driveway, then it would have been easier for him to take
It's
the
called
thing.
having a conversation with your neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
but,
Yeah.
but even then if let's say she didn't she's
Yeah.
doing nothing wrong
Yeah.
like
It's
she,
still on her driveway.
yeah
so.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying it's
I
like
don't understand how he
it's-
can't
it-
take out the
unless-
trash
like-
can on his
Yeah.
own. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any
It
sense.
sounds like he needs to build a new fence and make it possible to change.
well they should have a picture too in this
And he's an
things.
asshole.
You know what I'm saying like they should
Yeah.
have a picture that
This kid definitely doesn't
Where-
watch Judge Judy. I'll say that.
yeah because like if there was a
Yeah.
picture and it gave like here's the picture of what the driveway looks like him describing it I mean even trying to hear you
It just
read
sounds
it was
petty.
like
Yeah.
it was hard for you like I was trying to imagine in my head
Yeah.
it's like
Because it definitely says that her car is in her driveway.
yeah so
Mhm.
yeah so
And
it
she
must
can
be
move
one
it
of those
over
like
10 feet. It's like, well, maybe she has another car. Like, like
yeah
Yeah, and especially if
it's
she's
her driveway. She could do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
especially
with it.
if she's available, like
Yeah.
she's getting her mail. Like,
yeah
hey, can you move this so I don't hit your car?
it sounds like he did that on purpose to be honest
Yeah.
Oh,
But
just
then,
to
like,
spite
why
her.
would
Yeah,
this dumbass
to-
go over? Like,
yeah that is a part
he's dumb.
Yeah.
Well,
Asshole.
do we want to do one more, or do we want to go on to the next one?
I think we should go on. Like
All right, let's move
that was
on.
a good little
Okay.
one.
Okay.
That
That
was
was
a good.
actually
That was a
that was a
good.
fun, I
Yeah.
actually really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I
Even
still
though
miss Yahoo
that was
Answers,
short and
but that was
sweet.
good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
I think.
R.I.P. Yahoo
Yeah.
Answers.
RP.
Dude, so
I think
sad.
I think we'll be seeing "Am I the Asshole"
yeah,
a
Yeah,
few more
yeah,
times
I
on the
like it.
podcast.
yeah.
That's
That was
definitely a good
funny.
one.
Yeah, I'll do some more
Well,
research and find some good ones.
that's
Up the
good.
booty holes.
Well,
Good luck.
for our last segment for the evening or for the week, I'm gonna throw this over to Goichi to introduce it or give the descript or kind of give the rules or give how we're gonna go about this. But the last segment is called "Are you cultured or just American?" So Goichi, go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Yeah, so in a sense, I'm just asking, like, if I'm asking myself or my colleagues here, are you cultured or American? I guess in a sense, it could be a double-edged sword where, like, you could be Americanized and somewhat cultured in American culture, right? But for me, I'm specifically saying, like, as a Japanese American born in the USA, I come from, like, a second, third generation line of Japanese heritage. And for me, I consider myself to be way more Americanized versus cultured from my Japanese roots. My brother is definitely more Japanese and in tune with like his Japanese spirit. But I would say like it's funny because people just run on assumptions. Like my job, like when I went to my final interview, it was a lunch interview with a couple of other people, and they picked a sushi restaurant thinking a Japanese kid from Southern California would
Oh,
love sushi. And
that is.
sushi is like sushi and poke are like the one things I do not eat.
Oh,
But since then, what's funny is I've been way more open to eating sushi since I've been to that restaurant because it was such a funny thing that I was like, you know what? I should just try sushi. It's not going to kill me, you know. And I've given poke a try. I'm not a fan of poke. I've tried it multiple
Until it
times.
does.
I've
embrace
tried
it.
it in Hawaii too, and I'm just not a fan. But sushi, I've come a long ways of eating sushi. But as far as cultured, like for me, I told the guys I'm like a Twinkie. I'm yellow on the outside. I'm white on the inside. That's kind of how I was born and raised, which is kind of strange too, because I grew up in a majority of Hispanic area.
Hmm.
So I was a token Asian. So it was an interesting time growing up. And then my dad, he grew up in an area too with Hispanics, and he grew up working with other people who only spoke Spanish. So my dad actually speaks fluent Spanish, like crazy fluent Spanish, just from like working those odd jobs as a kid. So it's interesting to me because like my parents were never really focused on like being Japanese. They were more focused on like just adapting, like just being American, you know, and like living that American life. Like ate Mexican food, ate hot dogs, hamburgers, Japanese food. So we always mixed it up in the house. But I think the one thing I always carried on from my Japanese heritage was like through my grandfather, who never spoke a word of English. On my mom's side, he only spoke Japanese, and it was weird. Like we would, as the grandchildren and my brother and I, we would get passed down wisdom from my grandpa, even though he couldn't use his words. The way he would teach us about things, about like taking care of nature, plants, animals. Like he would get these blue jays from Laguna Niguel, and like he trained all of them to like come to his house and hang out at his house. He would hold up peanuts, and he would give us peanuts to hold up, and the birds would come right to our hands and just chill with us. It was amazing, and he taught us about that. He taught us about like patience, how to tie like rope knots, just like kind of like manly stuff, Boy Scout stuff. You know, he just taught us that, and even without having to use words, he taught me like the meaning of what it takes to be like a hard worker. I mean, my grandpa came from nothing, you know, coming over here after the war and like and being in camps and stuff. Like he ended up making his own business in a nursery, raising what is it, 4 or 5 kids on his with his wife, and having a nice home in Laguna. It's like he defined all odds, and like I respect that. It's something I try to live up to as far as like work ethic and taking care of your family.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is like my dad was a drill sergeant about mannerism, and you know after like growing up and seeing the culture of like Japanese people and how they're very well mannered. I'm nowhere near their mannerism, but my dad definitely drilled it into my brother and I, where like it's almost like automatic or robotic in a sense, where um, Well, it's yes, please, may I, or thank you. Like I'll say thank you over and over again in the same like interaction with the person, just because that's how my dad built me, you know. And I appreciate that. Like at first when I was a little kid, I hated that because like he would always like embarrass us and like get really mad and kind of just kill the mood, you know, as a kid. Because as a kid, you're like you want to have fun, and I'll never forget like when my brother and I would horse around, which we did a lot. Like my dad would get really upset and like tone us down, and um, it would upset me at that point, but like growing up now I see it, I'm like I appreciate it because it instilled like good manners for me, and it's helped carry me a long way because I have a sailor mouth, but when it comes to like being professional or in the business world, like those manners carry me a long way, especially like even with opening doors. People will joke with me all the time saying like, Garrett, did you get a new job, because like you're pretty much the door monitor. And I just, to me it's like it's just in my nature. I'm not just trying to be a good person. It's just like I do that. I just open the door for people. Sometimes like if we're in a group setting and we're all in a car, if there's a woman in the front seat or the back seat, I'll try and open the door for them, whether it's my wife or another woman. Like I just you try to be a gentleman. That's what I was raised to be. And also like when I went through my college fraternity, they were big. It was surprising enough, they were big on like you treat women with respect. You treat them right, and it's a reflection of who you are as a man. Is how you treat the woman and the person beside you. So, yeah.
So true.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead.
Uh,
You want me to
oh, go
pass
ahead,
it off,
B.
Coach? Okay.
Yeah, go. Yeah, you go. Yeah, you pick someone. I want to see you go.
All right. I'll popcorn it to. It looks like Nightmare's giving me the eye, so
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
popcorn it to Nightmare.
Yeah.
When is he not?
I mean, yeah. The cameras are on. They caught it. But yeah, I'm definitely American. It's just, I've never been, I've never done a lot of like world traveling. I've had a lot of exposure to other cultures.
Mm-hmm.
My roommate his family is Indian. They're Fijian Indian, and I've been over to their place plenty of times, and had meals there. They make a lot of naan, which is like a kind of like a tortilla, and we eat with eat with your hands, kind of just
Man,
get in
I
there.
can never be Indian.
Yeah.
What about your grandparents? I mean,
Yeah,
you got
I have
that's something interesting.
yeah I'm a mutt when it comes to my racial background. Like my grandfather on my mom's side was full Japanese. He came here, or not Japanese. He was full Chinese. He came here when he was like 2 years old. My mom actually had said that he used to call himself, as you'd say, Twinkie. He called himself a banana.
Oh, okay.
Yellow on the outside, white on the inside.
Yeah, that's the first time I
yeah,
heard that one.
he definitely took to the American lifestyle.
Yeah.
He lost his ability to speak, Chinese, Mandarin, or Cantonese. My grandmother on my mom's side is full Mexican. My my grandfather and grandmother on my dad's side, they were pretty much American. My grandfather's father, I believe, came here from Lebanon, and so all those racial backgrounds have culminated to me, but I was not raised with any of it. I was just raised as an American child. Baseball, sports, good manners. Yeah, it was. We'd occasionally do like Chinese New Year, trying to keep that alive, but that kind of even that kind of
Did
fizzled
you get
out.
the money at least?
Got the money.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got the little
Lucky
red
money.
envelopes.
Little red envelopes,
Yep.
baby. Yeah, when I was a kid,
That lucky money.
that was awesome. But that kind of died down as the cousins kind of got older and the family kind of started moving away. My mom's family kind of dissipated a little bit. They kind of moved away or had their own lives that they wanted to do. But yeah, as far as culture, like I'm definitely an American. Like I don't like I've again with YouTube rabbit holes. I've been like reading or watching Reddit posts and people discussing, and hearing people talk about that live in like Europe or the Middle East and like the different cultures and how customs are, and it's sometimes it's a culture shock, and like how they handle things and how manners there in manners over there differ than manners over here,
Mm-hmm.
and
Hygiene.
it's interesting. Hmm?
Hygiene.
Hygiene,
Yeah.
hygiene, definitely. But yeah, I definitely say I'm American. Raised American. I'm aware of other cultures, and I try and be mindful. But
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't raised. I wasn't raised in a Mexican household. I wasn't raised in a Chinese household. I wasn't raised in a Lebanese household or an
Yeah.
Irish
Mhm.
household. It was just the household. It was just we lived in America, and I went to school, and there was no like special holidays that we celebrated, or how it is.
I'll never forget
Yeah.
when I was little, I was like super proud to be Japanese, right? And then my mom, I would always say I'm Japanese. I would never say like I'm Japanese American.
Mm-hmm.
And at a very young age, my mom always said, "Be proud, and you state that you're Japanese American, and just make sure that you understand that you're proud to be American." So, and
Smart.
I am proud to be American.
There needs to
'cause-
be more of that now.
Yeah. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I'll pass it over to Beef.
Nice.
What are you?
Yeah, I'm as white as vanilla as you get. You know what I think about when we first talked about this segment. I want to reflect is like it is how the word cultured and how the word American is really subjective.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like
Yeah,
along like because
absolutely.
it's like what is American to me is like American is a country. How America was founded was all these states of different origins coming together from different countries and becoming one. So that's its genesis, right? So like to me, it's like
Ironic, huh?
yeah, it's just like we're all kind of just a bunch of random things. Because I always think of like what subjective is that, or what makes it even more subjective is I'll give a couple of scenarios that I find interesting. It's similar to I was like for a while there would be other one white.
No, God, please, no!
Live?
Yep, we're
Yeah,
back.
so what I was gonna finish with is what I find the second part of American. So we're still on the cultured or American. Is I would go. So I was bringing up how when you go to Mexico, like Mexicali, there's Chinese people there, and they have like the most unique but bomb. Again,
Yeah.
Chinese food.
I don't know what it is. There we go.
The most unique bomb, but it's really good. But it's like really Spanish way of Chinese food.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bring that up because, like, what is really American when you're defining it? Is it just like, you know what I mean? Like, is it just white people? But then if you go to you go to Europe, there's white people there, right? So it can't be white people. So then what is really American to me? It's like, I don't really think it exists because I think like as a society, like you look at like cities, like big cities, like for example, we went to London, and it was all these different cultures blended together, where it was like just normal. Like it was just normal to have like Indian food on like here, Mexican, or it was like Chinese food, and then it was like Thai food, and it was all these like, and then it would be like an English place, right? It was so my thing is like and all these and when you go into these stores, it's not like you went in an Indian place and it wasn't Indian people. It would be like a French person in London, right?
Yeah.
And you go to and that's what I'm saying is like, is it really becoming like we're blending so much together in so many areas. Like I think like what's happening is like especially in America, I think America is blending the most because America on average gets like 50 million immigrants, documented immigrants a year, and it's like that's wild. Where they're if you look at the next four countries, they make up more than the next four countries on that list. So like they're blending all these cultures together. Whereas like you look at some countries, I bet you if you go to like Sweden, it's like 98% white, and they're keeping it the same way where that culture still exists. So it's like, but even when you go to Mexico, like I know so many people that they've gone down from the United States to Mexico, and they're gonna change. Like I was talking to Loris's family or my wife's family, and there are areas in Mexico where it's like Orange County or Southern California where it's a ton of white people in this neighborhood, and it looks like, and it just goes to show you that like I think that's what's starting to happen. Is it really is it culture American, or are we just starting to all these different groups are spreading out? And the funny part is, think about your family. You talked about I was Japanese American, but then like his family's the best example where that's going to be like the norm, where it's all these like different like mixtures as long
And
as
you
that
create
keeps
your own
happening.
culture at that point.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and that's what's wild is like, what will
Mhm.
be the culture in 5 generations from now, right? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Who knows? But what's interesting too is what you brought up is like you take Japan for example, right? Like the interesting thing about Japan is like they're trying to keep and hold on to their traditions and the way they do
Preservation,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, because even when like let's say the Caucasian people go over there, right? Most of the time they're trying to learn a trade out there. Like they're trying to learn kanji, like or they're trying to learn like welding, you know, or the art of like bonsai. So it's interesting. It's like even like the new generation out in Japan, like the younger generation, isn't interested in the old like Japanese tradition. It's dying off. Like we have like my old school like uncles that are part of like it's kind of interesting. Like the bonsai world is kind of like a softy mafia type of world where like there's different bonsai masters, and my uncle is one of them from my mom's side, and he's like well known around the world like for bonsais and like
What is bonsai to explain what
bonsai is pretty much like a unique looking bush, I would say. It's pretty it's
okay.
pretty
Okay,
much
The
one
tree-
of
the
those like
trees.
plants. They come in all shapes and sizes, all types of designs. But it's pretty much a plant that you curate and you take care of, and it lasts a lifetime. But you tend to you take care of it and you treat it as like a life being. You know, like the Japanese saying is everything in life has a soul and it has a purpose. It has a feeling to itself. So like when for example, when a Japanese person drinks water and they're going back to old school traditions, like they'll thank their water for like being there and giving them like, you know, the water itself. Like in a way, like Japanese look at it as like the water sacrificing itself to give them, you know, the hydration to stay alive. So or like they'll thank like the plants on the earth, and like they'll walk without shoes on, right? Like they're very intertwined with like the world around them and the environment around them, and they appreciate like from what I've seen, like they can appreciate anything. Like when you go to a park in Japan, and I've never even been to Japan. This is like stories from my mom, my aunts and uncles. It's like when you go to a park in Japan, like there's dudes cleaning like the pond. There's dudes cleaning rocks. Like you'll never see something like that out here in the U.S. where you know we're really cleaning up our park. We're making sure there's no gum under the chairs or something like that, and no trash on the ground. And like that's something like definitely Japanese people take pride in themselves. But it's just interesting. Like pretty soon, if there's no interest in like the old school traditions of like how the Japanese did things back in the day, I mean it's going to die out, and it's going to create its own type of culture eventually with that new generation coming up. And there's so many things with fusion, right? And like to me, like people would think, oh, fusion is bad because you're going away from your culture, but like our generation growing up, especially like the Eddie Wongs of the world. If anyone doesn't know who Eddie Wong is, he's a guy based out of New York. He's written a book, but he's pretty much like another first, second generation of I believe Chinese coming over here to the States. I think he was like either in Texas or Florida. But anyways, he comes from a family where he was kind of like the Twinkie here as well, and he had to develop like his own skill set to adapt to like the American culture, and he talks about like his journey going through that, and he himself talks about like Asian fusion and like all these different culture of fusion foods, and I think it's great. I think it's really cool when you could bring like different type of culture like ingredients and foods, and you can make like even better food out of it. Like I love it. So I at the end of the day, it's to each his own, right? But yeah, I think it's cool.
What about like you ever thought about this like so all the stuff that you mentioned about the being Japanese traditional, but you look at like every culture that we look as historically is written down was at one point couldn't they have been a fusion too? Do you know what I mean? Like could they have you know what I'm saying? Like I know it's kind of like trippy to think about it that way, but like to you like you're like oh I'm Japanese and like to you know my wife and your background of Chinese and Mexican, right? But then what if like we went back to that time? Like we go back like 200 years, and then they're like even before that there was more of a
guarantee there was.
Yeah, and it just makes me think.
Well, you
like,
think about rice, right? Like the different versions of rice.
Well, where did rice start from?
Who knows? China? I don't know.
No, it's
Middle
Italy.
East. Oh yeah.
So,
See, isn't that wild? Like by then, that's like
or like
the
noodles,
Silk
right?
Road. Yeah, exactly. So it's like to me, like I always think about like right now we look at what is pure, or we not pure is a bad word, but like you know what I mean, like. The only time I think you could ever keep it like traditional
Uh-huh.
is, and I hate to say this, but like you stay the same race. You know, you breed with the same race. You know,
Absolutely.
but even then, but like at the individual level, like, you know, I could be, let's say I'm like 100% Swedish, like I may not still adhere to the culture, right? Like the values of that, and then I might, like, if I grew up in a different area, like where I was raised around a bunch of like, you know, English people, I'm going to take the values of, or not the values, but the maybe the etiquette and like the etiquette, you know, that. So that's what I'm saying is like it's so interesting to me when you talk about culture. People talk about culture as they're so proud of it, and so I'm like, the only thing you should be proud of is like what you like, because like what you said about fusion,
Yeah.
you should be like, I love that,
Yeah.
and that's all that really matters. It's like who you are. It's like, yeah,
It's interesting you say that because like I know if I was raised in Japan from a child, like as a child, like I would most likely marry a Japanese woman. It's just the fact that there is a limited quantity out here of Japanese women that, you know, I didn't really have the cream of the crop or pickings or anything like that. Like I think in my lifetime, outside of my family, I've met 2, maybe 3 Japanese girls. That's it. You know, and if I grew up in Japan, I most likely would have been instructed, probably by my parents, to marry a Japanese girl. Because the other thing with Japan is like they're losing out on their population. Like it's dying off as it continues on, because the younger generation is so focused on work and like whatever else they're doing in their lives, they're not reproducing. And so like, and then also like people like me, where I'm not remarrying like Japanese. You know, my wife's half Chinese, half Vietnamese. So
yeah, you're a threat to the Japanese bloodline.
pretty much, like I'm not
Yeah.
supporting that. But
Yeah.
it's also goes back to like, if we went to war today, like let's just say we went to war today against Japan, who would I support? I would support America.
Yeah.
Right? This is my home.
I support Mexico.
Well, that's out there now.
Yeah.
Well, you always have to have
Well,
your eyes.
if Max gets a knock on his door in the middle of the night,
So you guys are lucky. Well, actually, Coach isn't as lucky. You guys, like, you could be like, claim me.
Yeah.
You know, like you could, if like if something
Look
hits
it.
a fan,
Look
shit hits
it.
a fan here,
Look
shit
it.
hits a fan here, you could be like, please claim me, and like, you know what I mean? Like I have nowhere else to go. Like this is it. This is the end of the line for Coach and I.
You're just knocking on Poland's door.
Yeah.
Let me back in.
They're just, and like that's what I always laugh at. Is my dad will always talk about like, they always talk about racism in America, and I'm like, we're a melting pot of all this stuff happens. So of course you're gonna experience, like you were talking about you growing up, you're going to, it's clashing, so you're gonna feel that. But my dad, I can hear it, the clashing. So like what I find interesting is like you look at like Germany, and you look at Sweden, and you look at Switzerland, and you look at all those countries. It's like 98%, 99% white still.
Yeah, for sure.
It's extremely like,
Yeah.
but no one talks about how
Yeah.
that's not racist. To me,
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I bring
it's
it
like,
up all the time.
Like the white population is decreasing here.
It's like at 57% now or something like
Yeah,
that.
and it's like that's what's odd is like, like I'm not saying that makes. I'm not, again, like we go back to that stats quote.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just saying like if the only way you're gonna get less racist is having more diversity, and then there is a step forward into melting pot clashing and all that. But like if you're consistently keeping 97%, I mean my grades weren't even that good, so it's
I
like
know,
that's like you're, you know what I'm saying, you keep your
Yeah.
numbers that good. So but yeah, end ran on that one. But
Coach,
yeah. And
Yes, sir.
how American are you?
That just shows how big of an influence social media is. Because I feel like we're the capital of like fucking social media and you know, political propaganda and all that stuff. You know, like
Yeah, like we're just racist everywhere. Like you walk
Yeah.
down the street and it's like you get all this you're like waving and someone just says something racist to you and then you wave again. You're like that's how it's. Don't you guys feel that way lately? It feels that it's always like that. Like
I just feel like nowadays
I
everyone.
think
just
I
takes
think I was
everything
deemed
too
racist
seriously.
by saying thank you.
wait, what was it?
Oh, sorry. I think I was pretty racist when I said thank you to somebody today. So I think it was just because I'm white though. So I said thank you, and it was like,
Yeah,
well,
you're ignorant.
I was pretty racist towards that person right now.
Can't have your cake
But-
and eat it too.
I would say, as what Nightmare, you asked how American am I? I would say
Toby
that I'm
Keith,
both.
American.
Yeah, I bleed red, white, and blue. I would say that I'm American, but kind of similar to like Nightmare with his stuff. Like I'm aware culturally because of us growing up in Southern California, we have a lot of things around us. Like we have different cities that have like higher densities of certain populations. Um, and I feel like you're kind of exposed to that, to, at least to a certain standard, that otherwise you're not exposed to that. And now that I'm living somewhere else, I would say, yeah, there's like some of that stuff out here in the Midwest, but I'm like, it's definitely not the same as like Orange County, like having Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, Taiwanese restaurants, Korean stuff, Mexican food, you know, whatever
Woman, weed, and
consider.
weather, buddy.
Yeah.
That's what
There's just
Yeah,
a lot. There's
it's
just a
like,
lot of mayonnaise out there, right?
yeah, I
A
mean,
lot
it
more
is,
mayonnaise
and
in
there's
here.
a lot of, it's a lot of mayonnaise, and a lot of Miracle Whip, or you know,
That's what's odd is
uh,
like when you talked about that mixture is have you guys noticed though that same mixture in every big city exists? Like every
Yeah,
big city
like in
in
New
all
York.
throughout the United States, like United States, Mexico, like if you go anywhere
San
internationally,
Francisco.
even they talk about Hong Kong,
mhm.
right?
Oh,
Hong
Hong
Kong,
Kong.
Japan. I bet you like there's cities where it's so like it's so mixture, like it's a melting pot. Why are all the big cities like you know what I'm saying? Like there's work there.
I think it's because it's popular.
They just people
Yeah.
Yeah, just people
like.
like it's
But
safe.
are they
It's safe.
moving towards more of acceptance? Like are big cities moving to more like LA, right? LA is known as like one of the biggest melting pots, right?
Mhm.
Are the big cities of the world actually pushing for this new movement of more acceptance, right?
Mhm.
Do you know, are they
Yeah,
like as
maybe.
much as we dog them for like okay, it's horrible to live there, or you know they're that we don't agree with the policies that are being conducted there. Like, are they pushing? Are big cities the reason why we're pushing towards a less racist world? Like, I think I kind of think about like because every time I visit a big city, I'm like, whoa, like New York City was like crazy to me. How many like races I saw and how many different people. London threw me off the most. Manchester.
It's hard to compare New York, in my opinion, or like California, like especially LA, because like it's a destination spot. for
Yeah,
a
well,
That's
lot of
what I-
people around the world.
Chicago. I mean, I could keep going on the city. Chicago, Seattle, but it's so wild, bro. Like, I'm not saying like I see all the same races, but you're seeing like really a lot. Whereas if I were to go to
Like the big group of Asians
Indiana, for
hanging out,
example,
going like this, taking pictures. They're not from there.
yeah. Well, yeah, like
Well, I
you,
think it's 'cause,
you have
like-
visitors too, but like you have like Seattle's a great example. It's a lot
True.
of Japanese people have moved
True.
over there. But like the more I go to big cities, the more I'm like, whoa, like there's so much diversity. And I find it interesting that it's like that. Whereas if I were to go to Indiana, take for instance, like you're not gonna see that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think it's because people like to keep it. If I'm gonna keep it American, people aren't moving to Kansas to their dream isn't to grow corn
True.
and become a corn farmer. And for the most part, I'm sure there are some people out there that want to do that. And if they want to go to like, if I want to expand it to globally, people aren't moving to China to be like, I'm gonna go to the rice paddies. That's my dream. I'm gonna go to the rice farm. They want to go to big city where there's a bunch of opportunity. It's modern. It's not third world.
so that's what I find interesting is like Mexicali, for example, is not a big city, but you go there and gigantic Chinese population. But you go through Mexico and that you could point that out in the United States in a lot of areas where in random spots, and there's probably a lot of history that goes with this, but where they've dispersed, but for some reason they migrated to that area, and there's probably a historical reason for that. But I just find it like odd that like why are like the big what I was bringing up about like American like or culture is like if the big cities continue to grow and disperse more, they're dispersing this fusion of right like so if like you're going in and you're like, well, I'm taking my Chinese family here, and then there's a Japanese family going there, and there's a Mexican family, and there's a white family, and there's a black family, and you just keep going, and then it just keeps melting, and then they spread. You're creating this different race. You're creating this like a whole like a new line of.
I'll say from what I know from just Asian in general is our ancestors came here, or like our elders came here to just make a life for themselves and survive in any way possible. They did not give a shit about like we're accepted here or we're not. We're going to live here and we're going to try and make a life here no matter what. As much hate or racism as I get. I mean, my grandparents were told by their real estate agent, I don't think the community in this neighborhood would appreciate you moving here because it was a majority white neighborhood. But did they listen? They didn't care. They moved there and they ran their own like business, because like they didn't care about who their clientele would be. They just knew they had to try and survive. Like it was kind of like survival mode. So where do you go? You go where it's most populated, especially if you're trying to start up your own like plant nursery, or like for me growing up, it was like plant nursery or like a nail salon or some like odd off like shop or like liquor store, So yeah,
survival.
pretty much.
That's why
Yeah,
they go there.
because really, like my elders, anything I hear, it was never about them. It was always about creating a better future for your future generations to come. It was always never about like creating at least like from my Japanese heritage. Like I always said, I always joked around like I was never the smart Asian kid in math, typical smart kid Asian in math or school in general. I never came from like rich Asian parents. Like I don't even know what that means to me. Like I've been around other Asian like wealthy Asians, but I never grew up wealthy at all. Like if anything, we're middle class, and I'm not complaining because I had a great childhood, but we struggled. I mean, there was nights where like my dad denied us from like going out to dinner because we didn't have money, and like that was like a real shocker to me as a kid because you don't think like that. You're not thinking about like, like how's the money cash flow like for you, Dad? Do we have enough in the bank? You don't think about that as a kid.
Yeah.
But it's a shock, man, when you're like, Dad tells you don't have enough, the family doesn't have enough money to buy dinner. Like, that blew my freaking mind. And that went on for like a couple months, maybe a year. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's like definitely my parents and like their parents before them, all they cared about was putting food on the table or creating a better life for their children. That was it. Like my dad's parents, it wasn't necessarily about giving their kids a better life. They just wanted to make sure that they could take care of their kids and put food on the table. That was bottom line. The rest is like up to you. Like you guys have to try and survive on your own. So yeah, interesting on how people's cultures are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, boys, I think that today, or I guess tonight, that we definitely brought up quite a few good points, and I definitely think that we were able to have probably, I would say, probably one of the most fun podcasts that we've had since we started this.
It's up there.
And it's as always, I look forward to my Fridays not only because it's the end of a week, but I look forward to my Fridays because I get to spend time with you guys and we get to discuss everything. And it really does bring some like shine on my Friday, knowing that I look forward to like getting to get off work and come hang out with you guys on here. So I think that's gonna do. Yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode of the Long Live Junto podcast. As always, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining after the technical difficulties tonight. And you can check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, our YouTube page. We've got our Instagram where we've got reels and notifications posting for all of our upcoming events. So feel free to follow, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you guys later.
And then also we'll be streaming tomorrow all throughout the day, right, Coach?
That's right. Yeah. No, I'll have
Two-for-one
stream going tomorrow
special.
for Junto.
Oh yeah.
We got Coach and G going.
Yeah, and then I'll be playing later that afternoon. I'll just
Absolutely.
be gaming. I don't know what games yet, but I'll be gaming.
Nice.
Mother
Days. Oh my gosh.
Are you okay?
I'm tired. I was about to speak, and then he said something, and then I brain farted, and then I was like,
Did you want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all the long?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Happy Mother's Day to all
the
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
All these values are learned from you guys for sure. So.
Yes, we owe you everything, and yes, you were right about everything. So thank you, mothers.
So
Absolutely.
True. All right. Good night,
All right,
guys.
boys.
Night, everyone.
Good night, guys. Stay tuned. Be safe.